Welcome to the Project with Sam and Lewis, the podcast with the mission to cover every project throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
I'm Lewis.
I'm Hamish.
That's right. Hamish couldn't get enough and is back again for the second time in a year.
Yeah, it's probably the quickest somebody's returned to the show.
You just can't keep me away.
That's it. We normally make them wait a little bit longer, but you're back with us for another spooky episode. This week is the third episode of Projoctober, and we are revisiting one of our most popular episodes or popular topics from last year, Project Zomboid.
Yeah, so we played the indie game last year, had great fun with it. Heard from the makers of the game as well, which is very nice. They helped promote it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they've updated it a bit, so we decided to revisit again for this Projoctober. We've got 5 Projoctobers this year, so we could squeeze in an extra Zomboid. And Hamish, you've been playing it as well, so
yeah, definitely happy to talk about it, and yeah. Give it a thumbs up. Maybe, sorry.
Only positive things, Hamish. Before we get into that, we've got time codes in the episode description. So if you want to skip ahead to Project Zomboid chat or to personal projects, we've got a hell of a lot of stuff to talk about in personal projects, including She-Hulk, Dragon House, Andor, Rings of Power, and probably a couple other things.
Do you think House of the Dragon instead of Dragon House?
Dragon House. It's Dragon House, Hamish. Come on. If you've been listening to the episodes, you know. But before that, how have you been, Hamish, since we last spoke to you on here?
Yeah, really good. I think everything's ticking along. I haven't been told that it's not going well, so that's always a good sign.
That's good, yeah.
You've got the all-important vote of confidence.
Silence.
Yeah. No news is good news. How about you, Lewis?
Yeah, fine. Busy week at work again, but that's life, isn't it? It's starting to get a bit darker.
Oh, it's pitch black in here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
pitch black.
It's going to be the point soon where we leave work and it's dark, and I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to enjoy the light while we still have it.
Sounds like a quote from something, maybe a Lord of the Rings quote there.
Sure. How about you, Sam? How are you?
Yeah, pretty much same as both you guys. Nothing terrible to report, nothing particularly great either. So very middling. Good. It's a very grey life I live.
I swear back in the days, we used to have so much to say at this point in the early days. We had lived such eventful lives last year.
You're shadows of your former selves, really, aren't you?
Pretty much.
We've been slowly run down by doing a podcast for over a year.
All that time it takes out of our daily lives. But yeah, we've got a first segment, haven't we, Lewis?
We certainly do. Project news.
I really thought that was going to be the minute-long one.
So did I. After I started clicking it, I was like, wait a minute, have I done the wrong one? But no, Project News. Thank you, as always, to Steve Oxon for providing those royalty-free little jingles we use. As always, I've Googled the word project, looked what news has come up, and one of them is something built on that we've done before.
Oh, good.
It's nothing too important, but it may have some impact in the future, which is TNT, which is an American cable channel.
Dynamite, isn't it?
It's really good.
TNT acquires the Lazarus Project, UK action drama, to debut in early 2023.
Okay, so it'll get some look-ins across the pond.
Yeah, so it was shown on Sky One here. We spent half the summer covering it, episode by episode, but it seems to have been popular enough that an American channel has been like, yeah, cool. Let's get that. So for our American listeners...
you gesture to Hamish when you say that.
I was going to try and do an American accent, but I'm not going to.
Oh, David,
howdy.
I was going to say howdy.
David had quite a good American
accent.
I know,
yeah.
Week.
David had 2. He did Georgia and Kansas. So,
but that's because he's a show off.
But yeah, so they're going to be showing it in early 2023 next year, which is, I mean, even from our point of view, it's good to get a wider audience for that. It is
good for us, yeah.
And if an American audience is watching it, there might be some more money going into it in the the future.
Yeah.
They've already started filming season 2, as we know from last week.
I thought you were going to say it was like an American reboot, but I don't think it's got enough traction yet to do that.
No, they are literally just using the UK
yeah.
show in there.
And maybe HBO might pick up a American remake at some point. Have you heard of the Lazarus Project, Hamish?
Only through you guys.
Oh, there we go.
From listening to all 8 episodes we did.
You don't need to watch it because you've already heard us recap every episode.
Exactly. I may as well watch it all again for the memories.
And you can then, after every episode, listen to our episode.
Boom,
as God intended.
God had nothing to do with it.
It's a good show. If you're in the mood for a bit of a time looping Groundhog Day style kind of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. drama.
It definitely, a few episodes in, kind of takes a left turn that you're not expecting and kind of builds the rest of the season off that, which is quite original.
Well, even the end of the first episode, you're like, bam. Literally, bam. Yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, I would recommend it. We said the same to David yesterday. We're not recording these back to back. It was last week. But
we actually recorded these back to back for the first 60 days of the year. And we're just letting them loose.
We've got nothing to talk about.
We just do this segment.
It's been out in America for years, so you recorded this years ago.
The other bit of news I got is from a little known website called bbc.co.uk.
Can you repeat the name? I didn't get it. Sorry.
bbc.co.uk.
I don't know what that stands for.
I think we all know what it stands for.
British Broadcasting Company.
There we go.
I think it's corporation, actually.
Sure. New Adam Curtis project lands on BBC iPlayer Thursday the 13th of October, which at time of recording is tomorrow.
Who's that?
So he's a BAFTA-winning documentary maker. He's done all sorts of different history documentaries.
Do you know this already, or you just read it?
I may have Googled him on the way here, but he's won like 4 BAFTAs for his documentary work.
Okay. Anything we would have known?
No. But
all right.
It seems like it's a series of 7 films, which we may be interested in, entitled Russia 1985 to 1999 Trauma Zone. What it feels like to live through the collapse of communism and democracy.
Okay.
So it's kind of a 7-episode series based on the fall of the Soviet Union and like the rise of Putin, which could be quite interesting. I mean, me and you have both studied this era in the past. And considering everything that's going on, I'm not sure if everybody's
I was going to say it's a bit
of
topical, but
but seeing the rise of Putin and how he got to the position he is to, be the biggest dickhead in the world, could be an interesting watch.
Well, it's interesting that now we're living through the fall of Putin, so maybe that
or the second rise. We'll see how it goes.
Being positive, go on.
But yeah, so it's a 7-part series on iPlayer, so I might actually watch this because it seems interesting. It's definitely the sort of thing I'm interested in. So, there's that. Will you be watching?
Is that us or the listener?
You, Sam.
Me, Sam. Potentially. I mean, I'll probably let you watch it first, and you can let me know how it is, and then maybe you could talk about it on personal projects one day.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
What about you, Hamish?
Well, I was going to say, if you're listening at home, write in the comments below whether you're going to be watching it.
He knows his
he's
stuff.
Done this before. So we never say that. We should say that. We do kind of say that.
We kind of do. We focus more on the Spotify and Apple and stuff like that. We do get a lot of interaction on YouTube, and we should encourage that a little bit more. Yeah. So well done, Hamish. Well done.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can comment on this in like 6 weeks' time when this video goes on YouTube.
I'm much more on top of it now. We're up to date, apart from the last episode, so not quite.
Apologies to the YouTube viewers.
It's all right. It's I send a nice tweet out when they get uploaded, so we get an extra little bump up in the views.
Nice. A lot of people listening to this probably know that better than we do. That you send that tweet out when it's released.
Yeah, they only went out today. I sent about 15 tweets out today to catch up. So sorry if you follow us on Twitter and your whole feed is me posting about YouTube. But
the best way to deal with that is just to watch them all.
Oh yeah. It actually stops popping up if you watch them, so that's just what I heard online. So yeah, so nice project news there. Well done for the week. Well done. So we'll move on to the main topic, which is Project Zomboid, Build 41 and beyond.
Yes. So as we mentioned, we covered this last year in the early version of it. So if you want to hear our original thoughts, you can go back to last year's Projoctober. I don't know what episode number it was.
No, it'd be about a year ago. It's almost exactly a year ago, which is why we thought it was a good time to go back.
But so they released an upgrade.
Yeah, so it was December 2021. The Build 41 upgrade came out, the new update, and there was quite a lot of improvements over what we played, and we'll move through those as we go. But before that, for anyone who hasn't kind of ever heard of Zomboid before, I think, Lewis, you've got a little description there.
I do.
Fill them in.
So Project Zomboid is an open world isometric survival horror video game in development by British and Canadian independent developer The Indie Stone. The game is set in a post-apocalyptic zombie-infested world where the player is challenged to survive for as long as possible before inevitably dying.
Yes. That's one of the big points, isn't it? It starts like this is how you died, and then you kind of just
it's kind of a fun aspect of like you can't complete it. It's just how long can you survive?
Yeah.
I think a good description is if you don't really like yourself, it's a game to play because you'll spend a lot of time playing and you'll get very annoyed, but in a very satisfying way.
At the end, when you do, inevitably die, you get a little you survive for X days, X hours, it normally is when I play it, and how many zombies you killed, that sort of thing. And yeah, it's one of those things, a bit like a kind of Dark Souls where you're like, I love playing that, but I need to play more because I didn't do as well as I should have done, kind of thing. But in a kind of intentional way, I think. Well, I hope.
it's definitely one of those where like you can go into it at a base level and enjoy it, but the more you play it, the more you learn and the better you do it. And you can play it loads and still learn more and more stuff.
That's
which is quite nice.
I don't feel like I've got any better though. That's the problem. I've played it for a fair few hours.
I was going to say you've definitely played it the most out of us, Hamish. And I didn't know if you ever. Well, we'll talk about our experiences in a moment. Yeah, but we did cover it last year, so we won't go through anything too much with the development and that sort of thing, because I brought a couple of stories from the development along last year, and there's some quite entertaining and kind of death-defying stories along the way.
Like, it wasn't just developing a game; there was bomb scares and and stuff,
and like I think burglaries and all that sort of thing. A lot of that came from a gaming conference in like. I want to say 2011, but maybe that's when it came. I think that's when they published it. So it was a couple of years after that. It was actually held in Brighton, so it's very local for us, that conference. And
we were there, weren't we?
We were there back in the day, and I actually filmed the video that's on YouTube. So, but no, there's a great video where they go through a lot of the stuff that I talked about. But obviously, rather than watching that, go and listen to our episode from last year.
Yeah.
To hear about the development.
They responded to that, so we obviously told it well.
yes. But yeah, in terms of our experiences, we played a little bit here and there with each other, but
and then we played with the game.
Yeah. But Hamish, you were saying about your kind of experiences playing. How would you describe? I don't really know where to start, really. Like, how do you kind of play it? I guess.
Well, the thing is, I do read it, although I find it very annoying. I really enjoy it because there's so much you can do. There's so much that is kind of put into the game.
Yeah.
Like, I think one example that I've kind of found myself, and I think I've seen quite a lot in reviews and kind of comments and stuff, is just you can have one task and there's so many different ways you can fulfill that task. Just silly things like trying to get into a house.
Yes,
you've got so many ways you can do it, and then also there's different consequences for each one of those ways you do it. Like just getting in the easy example is getting in a window. You just break the glass, and then you're
but then you can go through, or you can like spend the extra time to clear the glass out of the way.
Yeah,
but then it's all the noise factor, which is something we had last year.
That's my experience of like, there's all those different options. It's like, oh yes, I can open this window, smash. Oh fuck, press the wrong button.
Yeah. And there's like you say, the kind of various ways you can play it. Obviously, the ideal way is be super quiet, take everything super slowly, act like you would in real life.
Where's the fun in that?
Exactly. I soon found myself going from like a slight crouch run to like a sprint and just dealing with the zombies.
It's quite fun just going into it being like a quick play, like Leroy Jenkins. I'm just gonna run through and just cause chaos.
Just like kite all the zombies and just be like, I'm just gonna
I'm not gonna bother getting food and breathing and stuff because I'm gonna die soon.
That's for wimps. Come on.
I found the last time I played, I was playing around with the like cooking system, and it's very like we played Valheim together, Hamish, and that's the thing I can compare it to most, where you pop some food in an oven, like uncooked food. You have to wait till it cooks and take it out at the right time, otherwise it burns. But the difference with this and Valheim is with this, you get the little knobs of the temperature. You can put timers on. It's like everything is like its own system within a system. And it can be a little bit overwhelming, I think, when you first go into it. But once you kind of explore your options, you can see what works for you. And yeah,
it's definitely one of those, like you say, with the knobs and stuff on the oven.
Don't talk about
it's one of those, it is kind of fiddly, you need to learn stuff, but once you kind of realize I need to put on this temperature, do it for that long, you then know that, and you go on to picking up the next thing.
I did never figure out frozen food. I don't know if either of you guys figured that out. I don't know if you can defrost it in the oven. It was one of those things I don't think I had the patience for, to be honest. I was eating raw stuff out of a can.
I ever lived long enough to kind of figure that out. It was I'd eat a lot of like snack food.
Yes, My kind of in-game body is probably quite a lot like my real life body, in that it's just junk food, and that's all.
That's another element. The in-game body stuff.
Yeah. All the stats at the start. That's like
setting yourself kind of, you can, because it's so varied. You can set yourself your own like mini challenges of like surviving as a really like obese, like small like fitness. Who's very loud,
like a smoker as well, and like no bad eyesight.
I can't remember what game it was, but it's that, I think it was Dwarf Fortress, where you had those. You have those kind of
that's
traits.
An old school one,
and you have to balance the pluses and minuses. And I really enjoy that kind of thing, where I've got I really want to be good at this, but then that means I'm gonna, like you say, with the smoking, kind of you've got the dependency there, and then it really kind of I like the consequences. I think that's. I think throughout the game. I think
because there's so many different options on that bit, you can very much suit it to how you want to play the game. So if you're the sort of person that's quite good at kind of fighting or cooking or reading, you can adapt the traits to make it best suit you, so you can survive the longest.
Or make it really difficult for yourself.
Well, exactly. You can kneecap yourself as well.
Because you could give yourself barely any traits at all, and then you're just like a blank slate, and then it's kind of easy mode in a way, but
that's quite a good way to start, because you can then learn what you are good at what naturally
and with
you prefer
like
doing.
You mentioned the books and stuff earlier, you can then spend time reading, although every time I seem to put slow reader as one, and then it literally takes about 10 minutes of real time to read a book, and I'm like, which is quite good for reading a book, I suppose, but I don't know how many in-game hours that is. But one thing I'm playing again, I don't know if this is since the update or if something I just didn't explore last time, but the concept of maps and being able to mark stuff on with pens and pencils, I found that really useful this time, because when I set up the multiplayer server, I put certain little starting bonuses, like starting with a map, starting with a bag with a baseball bat in it, that sort of thing, which, although it gives you that little boost at the start, it doesn't really help you in the long run. I still died very early every time. But yeah, just those kind of little systems like maps and that sort of thing.
But when you talk about the books as well, I like obviously kind of learning skills through books and that kind of thing, but the act of doing something, and then learning off that is, well, probably many more games before Skyrim, but that kind of where you don't actually level up, you
just get the skill up,
and then that feeds through your skills. And I just think it's such like I find anyway, an unappreciated thing in games, where it's just so organic to find out what you're good at and what you want this character to be.
I think that kind of adds in. I think despite the fact that the games entirely built around the fact that you will die at some point, there is still like a real sense of accomplishment when you do certain things. So like if you survive a certain amount of time, or if you get to a certain bit where you've learned loads of skills and you're like, I've actually done that. I haven't just said it so I
a
can
level
be
of achievement there.
I actually did that through doing this and doing that and taking that approach. There is a I'm quite proud of what I've done here.
And then obviously with the difficulty and how easy it is to die, then the more you put into your character, the kind of fear of dying and losing that all just gets increased all the time, and it kind of becomes more and more stressful as you go.
I saw some YouTube videos that I never got that far, but they literally lived for ages and ages and then die, and you're like, that is genuinely heartbreaking because they have spent a long time getting this character to this point.
That's how computers and keyboards get broken.
There'll be some broken monitors there. They've got a couple of spare ones.
But like earlier you said about Lewis, you said about kind of you can set your own objectives, and that's again a great thing about it is that you can set an objective as a skill. So you say, I want to get this skill to this point. Or you can just basically say, well, how long can I live alive?
Yeah.
Or how long can I stay alive? And just
I think because like the whole base of the game, like the story, if you will, or the accomplishment is live as long as possible. There's so many different things that you do naturally create your own targets. Like, you want to live as long as possible, but do you want to live really long by killing 100 zombies or getting really smart and avoiding all the zombies?
I think something that I didn't really get too into recently, which is unfortunate because I wanted to, but as we say, you kind of find yourself just going down a path that just suits naturally however you're playing at that time. But like the carpentry and like the building and that sort of thing was something I played around with more when we nearest when we played it last time. And I've seen videos where people have like put up little makeshift barriers or even built like almost like tree houses, I think raised structures and stuff. And that's like end game level shit that just I could never hope at this point.
It's the sort of thing that, like, when you're yourself laying in bed late at night and you're like, how would I survive a zombie apocalypse?
I think that's a really good point because that's kind of what all of this game is kind of built on, isn't it? It's verging on a simulator.
Because we've all thought about that. Like we've all imagined that situation. And I don't know about you guys, but we're talking about different play styles, and I found I always intend to go the learned quiet route, and I always end up in a fucking chase and a shootout with like 100 zombies chase me, and I'm like, I wasn't trying to play it like this time. How has this happened?
I think it's like slight impatience sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah,
at least
definitely.
That's what it is for me. And it goes to show that level of I say realism. I don't know, how realistic it really is, but there are things where the zombies do spot you quite easily if you're not careful, even like smashing windows, walking slightly too loud, all those kind of things,
and your blind spots as well.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah,
like cone of vision.
It's like, really clever.
It's a really cool way of doing it because like. They're like usually, like if you had like say The Sims, look at it, it's the same camera angle as The Sims. But The Sims you can see everything.
Yeah,
and then you could also go the other way of like a Call of Duty first-person shooter view, which would be very hard for this and doesn't quite work with the graphics they're playing with. Their solution works really well of having the best of both worlds
because it makes sense as well because they haven't gone the full like. What is it like Fog of War in Age of Empires where you literally can't see anything else, but the scenery you can see because I guess you would have remembered that, but it's the actual moving parts like the zombies and stuff disappear when you're not looking, which makes sense because you don't know where they are because you're not facing them.
I have been caught more than once about a zombie that I just just forgot to turn around and you're like, oh,
I like the little jump scares when you like go around a corner sometimes and it literally does a little like ding and you're like, ah! It adds that little like emphasis to
I had similar feelings when you for whatever reason you kind of panic and you go in and you're like, right, I'm gonna get in this building, you climb in a window and there's just like 3 zombies in the kitchen. Fuck, get back out the window.
Well, I found it with the tutorial, let alone the actual rest of the game. It was like, go into this toilet at the end of the tutorial and I'm like, I'm going to die. Something's going to get me. I'm terrified.
And you know full well it's going to start again after the tutorial anyway. That level of tension, actually, this is something I was going to mention. The music is something we talked about last time. And I don't have the details, but it was a guy who was very young for a kind of composer. I think he was like something like 15, wasn't he, Lewis, when he started?
Something ridiculous.
When he did the music for them initially, but playing again recently, the music, both the way that it builds the tension and the way that they do stuff like in Minecraft where it changes depending on the situation. So it builds if more zombies are coming, and then when they die, it kind of teeters
it's
off.
quite good, kind of like how how subtle it is.
Yeah,
it's like the music will build up without you even kind of realize it. It's just that your tension is building up and the music's kind of going with it.
So
and you're
effective, it's a real strength of it. And you mentioned about the graphics, and they are quite simple compared to lots of modern games, but it works in its favor because it kind of strips it back to its kind of bare bones, and it allows you to fill in your own kind of
it doesn't need to be any more than it is. Like you can see everything that's going on. The graphics are good enough so you can understand what's happening and what you're doing. Like any more would just be for the sake of it, and it would clog the game up, slow it down, and all kind of that stuff, when they've actually put more time and more like code into all those niggly
systems and
systems, which I much prefer, because I don't give a shit about the graphics if the game's fun.
Yeah. So for kind of the main part of this episode, I was going to go through. They're not necessarily patch notes. They are like actually written out ones from a blog post that I think went up on the Indie Stone website or the Project Zomboid website around December 2021 when this update build 41 came in, and I'm gonna kind of move through these, and we've talked about bits and pieces, but we can kind of have little mini discussion after each point here. If you've got nothing to say about it, we could just move on to the next one. We kind of have this as the kind of main structure of the episode, and then we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming build 42, what we know about it. I don't know, Hamish, if you know too much about the upcoming stuff.
No, I'm quietly. It's quite nice, kind of not, and then being surprised.
Cool. We briefly talked about it last week in Project News, but I'm sure you've got more details.
That's one of the main things, so I won't go into that. What we talked about last week is one of the main features that's been revealed. But yeah, I'll move through. I'll read them kind of vaguely verbatim for most part. And you just stop me or mention anything that sounds particularly interesting or something that you might have come across in your last few weeks of playing. So the first one here is to do with the animation and character overhaul. So they updated the animation since we last played, which is something that I think is quite subtle, but I think we probably all noticed in our own ways there. And it's got things like visible ripped clothing and backpacks apparently are visible now, which I didn't remember them not being visible in the first place.
No, I remember having a thought last time round where it's like, I'm carrying lots of stuff here. Where the hell is it?
It's those famous game magic pockets that just can keep everything you ever need.
This is something I mentioned already. The in-game map system allows the player to chart their exploration and find their way around the huge map. So it wasn't something that was in it last time we played. So
no, it's quite a good addition, because like, if you're trying, because the whole basis is trying to make it realistic.
Yeah.
And like, if this really happened and you were traveling around a town, you would map where you're going, where you found stuff. Even if you at least, I remember that's down there.
Even just making notes rather than on a map if you didn't have a map.
So it's kind of adding to that realism. And it kind of adds to kind of the, although you're trying to survive as well, when I said you can set your own goals and stuff, one of them can be kind of exploration. Because it's a fairly big map for what it is.
Yeah, because there's the 4 different like cities, settlement town things, and you can in the spawning seems fairly random for each one. But yeah, it's kind of a continuous world.
I think once when I played it, I managed to like cover an entire city, but it was very much let's try and cover the entire city.
But the variety of each kind of city as well, like like obviously each city is different from the other ones, but the variety in each one if itself is so good.
It's like I don't know the names. There's like a city one, there's like a more farm one, there's like a suburb bit, and a 4th one
and a prison as well.
Oh yes,
cool.
I
imagine if you put enough hours into it, you start to have your favorite. I mean, you have your favorite kind of buildings and houses anyway. You're like, I know that's a big building with lots of shit in it, but you'll kind of be like, I prefer this settlement because I know there's this, and this here, and I can use that stuff to kind of benefit me with the character I'm playing. It's all kind of supporting the other parts of the game.
Well, and yeah, depending on which house or what building you want to stay in, depends on your outfit as well. If I want to stay in the fire station, I'll obviously go and try and find a fireman's outfit.
I like. Well, I like the feature where you get like too hot from moving around and stuff.
Yeah.
And I found myself starting with like a flannel shirt, and then you start running, and then it's like you're too hot, and you're like, oh, fuck's sake, just take it off. And then it's like you're sweating, and you're like, oh, I have to get a towel from a house and stuff. So these extra little systems that they feel a bit annoying at the time, but I think I really appreciate the realism after the fact.
That's the thing, it's the realism. Like so many like zombie survivors ignore the fact that you get like sweaty, you get hot, you get a bit like
gross.
Washing your clothes, like that's such a cool concept.
I don't think I've ever done that.
Well, in the game.
Oh no, never.
That's why we sit quite far apart.
We've also got there's mention of multiplayer. So the new multiplayer, which previously when me and Lewis played, was only really local co-op.
And it wasn't ideal. We kind of mentioned about the menus kind of overlapping screens and stuff.
Which I think we got a response from the developers that wasn't actually an intentional thing. So I think we found a bug while we were playing it then. But now it's much more like you'd expect from games like Minecraft or Valheim that I've mentioned already. And you can host servers as you can with those two. And they've really, they've just made massive strides.
It's definitely
in that sense.
Important step in growing the game.
Yeah.
So much of modern gaming is like online co-op stuff.
Yeah.
Being able to do that well and naturally is a real step. So people can go home and be like, hey, call someone up, be like, do you want to do some Zomboid tonight? Like, cool. Like we used to do with Call of Duty when we were kids and stuff.
I still do that.
Yeah. To be fair, I played a bit of the new Modern Warfare 2 beta a couple of weeks ago.
Any good?
It was great fun, because I've only really played the Warzone, which is like the what's it called? Like the Battle Royale thing.
They brought out Modern Warfare 2 like 10 years ago.
Yeah, but now they're bringing out another version. They haven't changed the name. It's the classic requel.
Absolutely
reboot.
fucking hate it when they do that.
I know, yeah. But no, it was great fun because it was the mode where it's just like it's loads of you and you're kind of just, I think you're trying to like move forward the position kind of thing. So you keep spawning
battlefield kind
something
of
like that. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. And so you keep spawning, and compared to a battle royale where you'll have, like with Zomboid, you have to be really careful with your single life. This was more arcadey, and I found that quite refreshing for I don't play that much first person stuff. So yeah, it was great fun. So I probably still won't buy it when it comes out because it'll be like 60 quid. But
not made of money, come on.
Not like Zomboid, which is I think £11 at the moment. So if anyone wants to pick that up.
And so much more worth your money because the content
it's almost like, it feels like we've been paid by them to talk about it.
But like,
we haven't.
There is a factor in that. Like me and Christina had the conversation before about like a lot of the expenses you put into game is dependent on how many hours you put into it. Like I remember when I was younger, paying 40 quid for Football Manager was a lot of money, but I'd then play it for 400 hours, and you're like, that's like 10p an hour. That is well worth the price. And this is kind of a game because it's no end goal. It's not like a single story and stuff. You could play this for hundreds of hours and still be doing new stuff,
especially with the multiplayer aspects as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we've got new combat, new weapons, new difficulty balance, new tutorial teaching you the basics of new movement and combat. I can't remember if I played the new tutorial. I think I may have just skipped through that because
I think I skipped through it
because there was the original
You're
one
both
where
terrible people.
It was like a farmhouse, and see the bit about the toilet that you mentioned. I don't know if I
so that's
part of the new one. Oh god,
I believe so.
Damn, I'm so underprepared for our.
You've ruined the tutorial for the game we're talking about.
You get killed by zombies in the
honestly
toilet.
No zombies near the toilet. You've got nothing to worry
we're stopping
about.
the podcast. We're getting on it now. And we're back. No, not really. But yeah, like a lot of this stuff will be stuff that you kind of just take in your stride and appreciate rather than like, necessarily like a massive difference. I mean, it makes a massive difference, but it's not like, wow, this is a whole new thing. New character creation, new clothing items, both on spawn and in the creation, which I definitely noticed a few extra bits playing around. I can't think of anything particular. There were some more police type items that I was collecting.
I don't think I ever went last year. Don't think I ever went through them enough to notice.
No, I'm thinking about picking stuff up off the zombies as well. But yeah,
that whole like collector kind of thing. Oh, I've got these shoes or these trousers, these shirts. I've got to get the whole set. It's like such a silly thing, but I really enjoyed that. Pokemon card.
It's just another
little
like
mini
achievement, a mini achievement.
Yeah.
That isn't thing, and it doesn't help your character at all. It's just like, hey, that'd be a fun thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah. We've got stuff about new zombie behavior, which some of this I did notice. It talks about like feasting on corpses, like leaning against walls, falling over and stuff. As well as like blood and dirt system that like covers things as it goes. I definitely noticed playing it these last few weeks getting like really bloody if you're fighting loads of stuff, and I don't think it was quite as extreme when we played it last time.
I remember last year when we played it, and one thing that kind of happened quite a lot when you'd just be walking along and then there'd suddenly be like drips on the road behind you, and then it was like you're bleeding out, and I was like, wait, what? when did that happen?
Yeah, well, it says here as well there's a new injury system which you can see some of those injuries, or you can see the animation is affected, so it's slightly more more visible both on the animation and the character, which is really nice.
On kind of new zombie behavior, I remember always reading about like reading other people's comments and stuff on the games, and there was one guy who was talking about it kept finding kind of little stories in the game, and he was saying there was one where it was like 2 zombies just in their underwear in a bedroom that he just killed, and it was like, oh, I've just stumbled in on them having sex, or it was like those kind of things that you just like.
Yeah, it mentions that somewhere actually. It says situational zombie types and clothing and inventories.
It's so entertaining. Just like they're not massively common, but
it adds a little like it's like a random event kind of thing, isn't it?
Little Easter egg here and there kind of thing.
Be
it's very cool.
Quite fun. I imagine there is somewhere like a list of those kind of situations.
Yeah,
and going around and finding them. Also, find the sexy zombies. Like,
I'd just like to clarify, I didn't say they were sexy, just saying they were having sex. Whatever you do in your own time.
They sound pretty sexy to me.
Yeah.
There's actually a little list of a couple here, some examples. So we've got cop Zeds in police station, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Fireman Zeds in burnt buildings, so they didn't do a very good job there. Chef
I wonder how they died.
Chef Zeds in restaurant kitchens, again makes sense. Bride and groom Zeds at a wedding ceremony in a church.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. That's cool.
Quite a cool
like
one.
that.
Yeah. Oh, and here there's another bit as well. Randomized environmental storytelling elements. So we've got death scenes, zombies discovered in situations in which people died.
Yeah.
Prayer meetings, sports viewing parties. That's very specific. I guess they're wearing like team shirts.
And
maybe.
there'll be like a group like in a living room.
Yeah. Survivor Zeds wearing backpacks, etc. That's really cool. Vehicle crashes and blockades. I definitely noticed that. There's quite a few cars kind of crashed into each other.
A lot more.
The cars
I feel like last year, like there was cars, but there weren't loads of them. It was quite.
They were just like one on its own every now and then.
Yeah.
Different levels of protection from clothing. This is something I noticed with I was saying about police outfits. A couple of times I got like a bulletproof vests. I don't know if it really works against bites. I imagine it still has some effect there, but yeah. We got vehicle handling improvements and appearance tweaks. Yes.
Yeah, I've definitely found that kind of with the vehicles that just like being able to drive them along is so much.
I really like driving in games. I think when I played it last year, every time I tried to drive, the car was locked, and then when I try and like start it, the zombies would get me. I don't think I ever.
Well, there's no keys in the car.
Yeah, I don't think I ever got around to driving last year. So all the new driving stuff I wouldn't have noticed. I was like, oh, cool. I like to drive.
That's perfect. Yeah, it mentions here about updated soundtrack, so they made it slightly more Kentucky themed because that is the state that this is set in. As well as a soundscape overhaul. So new sounds building a more immersive and compelling sonic landscape. I think that's kind of what I talked about before. Lots of just really, really clever sound design that just little noises or sound effects mixed in with like little musical, what do you call it? Like little musical bits.
I think that's the technical term.
Musical bits, yeah.
I think kind of what Lewis was saying earlier about you got the music in the background where the zombies come along and you kind of catches you out a little bit. It's because you're concentrating so much on the game.
Yeah, you really
like,
are.
Okay, I need to be careful because obviously I can't see that much. So I move my character this way and then the music just starts building up. You're not noticing and then boom, you got.
It's also one of those, like, whenever you do, I don't know, if you're like reading a book or cooking or something, or just you're in a house that's, you've barricaded everything and you kind of have a moment of like relaxation. And then as soon as you have a second of that, you're like, fuck, I shouldn't be relaxing. I've forgotten something bad's going to happen. Like, even when you're relaxed, you then overly get worried about
I found
not covering everything.
When I felt like I was in a relaxed situation, it would then be like, you're getting bored, you need to be entertaining yourself. And I'm like, I just threw away all my newspapers to make room for stuff in my inventory. I had to go back and find them. It mentions
read a book.
It mentions here about placeable 3D models for items, and that's definitely something I noticed recently, because I think beforehand, if you drop stuff, there wasn't any in-world thing of it. You had to look in the inventory. Whereas now there's little like mini icons for it on the floor, which you can use, it says here, for decorative purposes. So you could place something like on a shelf kind of thing if you wanted it to be up there. But the thing that helps with it mostly is you're like, there's something on the floor that's broken from your first encounter. We've got a couple of bits about gameplay styles. So these are like the modes that you can go in at the start. It says they're new, but I kind of recognize some of these before. It says there's Apocalypse, which is like the hardcore mode. It says stealth focus, short lifespan, combat best avoided, and pick selectively. So is that one that either of you guys favoured?
To be honest, I just combat one, but just like the variation of them was really good. Like just being able to kind of from the get-go say, well, this is kind of what I want to concentrate on.
And it just tailors those little bits.
Exactly. Although having like a sandbox and just being able to do whatever you want is great, but just having that initial kind of focus is quite cool.
Like I do really like the sandbox approach to this do, because you've got so much freedom, but you can be like, I've got so much freedom, you don't know what to do with it. When you kind of set for you, it's then kind of easier to play in a way. So you're like, I know what I need to do. And because the other two here are Survivor and Builder. So Apocalypse is like hardcore, Survivor is like the combat focused one, and then Builder is, as it says, construction, exploration, that sort of thing.
And I think they don't just want to tailor it to one kind of person, do they? In the end of the day, you want to make a game that's available to as many people as you can, because that's what you enjoy doing, potentially. So that changes.
It's despite being like a zombie survivor game, it's not a game that's just aimed at people that are like fighting and shooting games. There's so much more to this game than just fighting and shooting.
I do think though, like, we've been very positive about it, but it's definitely not a game that is for everybody. And I think a lot of what we've said, you know, can be both positives and negatives for a general audience. I think it's suited to all of us, as you can hear from what we were talking about, you know, fairly passionate about it. But I do think what we've talked about, where you can not necessarily lose patience, but you can kind of, your best laid plans, if they go slightly sour, it can kind of open you up to this horde of zombies. You know, this is very generalizing, but to somebody who maybe favors more a Call of Duty or something like that, it is, as you say, Lewis, a very kind of different experience. Which is fine.
As you say, like, different games are suitable to different people, and I think this game is very much like, if you're willing to put the hours in and you've got the patience to take it slow and do well, this is the kind of game for you. If you want instant results, there's no such thing as instant results in this.
No. Well, the only instant result is death, probably.
So I think, as I said at the beginning, if you hate yourself, then this is the game for you.
You have to be a little bit masochistic.
And it's not like probably the same as you guys growing up playing like Call of Duty Zombies. Which was very much you're essentially in a room and it's wave upon wave upon wave, getting bigger and harder each time. It's not like that at all.
No.
It's not like it gets harder and harder. It's just you do different things, and naturally stuff will happen that makes it harder. But it's not, now here's 2 zombies, now here's 4 zombies, now here's 6
Although
zombies.
they do have there are little event things. There are things like Like I think it's things like you can hear like shooting off in one area, and then zombies are kind of pulled towards that. They're very kind of random events. And I think we had, when we played one time, Lewis, we had the helicopter.
Yeah, I was gonna say the helicopter.
I think you actually see like a shadow come over, and zombie horde like follows.
I remember we discussion of like, if you see a helicopter or hear a helicopter, run the other way, because the zombies will follow the helicopter. So you can have a bit of freedom if you go away from it. Although you might catch some on the crossover. Yeah.
It's quite cool. It mentions here on the topic of challenge and the level of challenge, there's a couple of new challenge modes, which I think I tried a couple of them very quickly when we played last time. But these two, one of them is based on a Paradise Island vacation resort, which sounds like good fun. I haven't tried that one. And there's one that's in like a movie studio. So I think there'll be.
I presume they're shooting a zombie movie.
Maybe that'll be good fun. It doesn't really go into much detail. It's just a little. But I imagine they're wearing costumes and probably get like cowboys and all that sort of stuff. So maybe one time we can play a little bit of those ones there. We've got a load more bits that I'm just going to kind of run through here. There's a new foraging system, which is not something I've tried, unfortunately. Belts and holsters, new stuff to do with inventory. I don't know if either of you guys ever put a gun in the holster rather than just in your bag. I did it once and then I didn't know how to get it out of it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did that. Everything goes in the bag.
I was going to try and sound really smug and say they showed it in the tutorial, but they didn't.
There's a new like body temperature system, a tailoring system for clothing repairs, fitness and exercise system. This is something I did try. You can do like push-ups and like sit-ups and stuff, which improves like your physical health, but also I think helps if you're like bored. I think that's when I did it, which is quite a fun
it's one of those where like if you set your statistics like a super fit person, you're more dependent on doing that stuff to maintain, sort of so you don't turn into somebody that doesn't have loads of muscles and is super fit.
The problem is I really don't want to be doing that in real life, so I really don't want to be doing it in a video game.
That's the character I played, because I do that in my free time anyway.
Of course, yeah.
We've also got a new emote system, which I feel like
what a new what?
Emotes.
I thought you said new moat system, and I was like, wait, you can build a moat.
Well, the next part is about new water visuals, including visible flow direction. So maybe you can build.
That would be great.
I think you can actually build you can claw out like a ditch in the ground. So I don't know if maybe you can.
It would take a lot of time.
Yeah,
that would be something fun to do actually, because if you've got like a decent house, build a moat round it.
Yeah, well, that's what we used to do in Valheim, didn't we? I was quite the builder in Valheim. Definitely an easier game than this in that sense, I think.
You'd be surprised. Sam has actually got a girlfriend. It's amazing, isn't it?
I spent a lot of time in Valheim that time, didn't I? Yeah. I don't think I had a job at that time.
Oh, yes.
You did. It was the builder in Valheim. That was your job.
Oh, I wonder if that... Yeah. There's probably knocking around somewhere, that server there.
Yeah, probably still is.
You still play much Valheim?
I do every now and then. Because the thing is,
it in a year.
The thing is with like,
and I haven't played Valheim either
because he's got a girlfriend.
The thing, like, they're quite good games to relate to each other because they're quite low in their requirements.
Yeah.
So,
although I think when Valheim got updated, like halfway through when we were playing, I think it was David actually really struggled to play it one time.
That's a good point.
And it just, I think they'd added new lighting effects, and even on like the lowest, it was just too much for his terrible laptop.
Yeah, they're easy. Because I've just used Steam, easy to download. It takes you 20 odd minutes to download, then you just...
If you've got a working laptop.
If you've got a working laptop, yes. That's a good point.
Yeah, Lewis had some issues with his getting this one going, didn't he? Yeah. We've got things like a new puddle system.
I can't say I noticed the new puddle system.
New fog visuals, maybe noticed that. Don't know. New leveling system. I think it's kind of... I don't know if they've tweaked what we saw before, if I'm just kind of forgetting, but I think it's what you were saying before, Hamish, about like the Skyrim style, use a skill and it gets better kind of thing. new VHS and CD system. I gotta say, I never tried this out.
Makes too much noise.
Yeah,
What?
you go in a house.
No,
And
so
I think we talked
I
about that
came
last
across
time
like
about
VHSs and CDs, but didn't ever like do
think to
anything
go and
with
put
it.
it. It's like, of course, you can put it in the thing. It's
Yeah, but
fucking
I
Project
remember
Zomboid.
last year, like when we played it, you turn on
Yeah.
the TV and you're like, I mean, like watching the news and stuff or watching
Yeah.
documentaries makes you learn, but it was like, this is such a bad
Exactly.
idea.
But also, the zombies do. Yeah, they get and I think even lights on at night attract them.
yeah,
as well,
because the
don't they?
TV's
So-
lights and noise. It's like,
Oh, you have to pull
this
the
is-
curtains, don't you? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
It's not worth it. Don't watch TV, kids.
It
Come
says
on.
broken glass and related injuries. Now, I've got a feeling now that we're almost finished through this update 41. I think maybe some of this was already in when we played last time. Because
It may have
broken
just
glass
been
was definitely
improved.
yeah, because it says it as if it's a new thing, but broken glass was definitely in it last time.
yeah.
It's been in it all the time that I've been playing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's just pretend that we were right the whole time. 3D store mannequins that can be dressed however you like. This is definitely something I never saw.
Is this still in game or is this in real life?
Oh no! I mean, you can dress store mannequins however you like.
Good,
That's
that's
why Geraldine in the corner is
Yeah.
wearing this fetching number. No, this is in the game, yeah. Which is why they're 3D.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Working
It
washing machines and
makes
dryers.
The mannequins make me think of I Am Legend.
Oh,
you know,
Yeah. Oh, great shout.
where there's all the mannequins, obviously, and
Yeah,
Will
yeah.
Smith's character becomes friends with
I
one
re-
of them.
I re-
That's
Really?
also Umbrella Academy as well, isn't it? Is that what you're
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Number 5, yeah. Yeah, washing machines and dryers. This is something you.
Too much noise again.
You've
Way
got-
too much
I
noise.
thought you said you like washing your clothes in it.
It's very satisfying, but just way too much
Just
noise.
find new clothes.
Yeah. No, in fact, Hamish likes collecting his clothes.
I
so-
do. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got things like server-side saving. Wow, that's a real tongue twister there.
What was it?
Fuck off. Server-side saving.
Oh, sorry. I think my headphones cut out there.
Server-side saving. Yeah, we can skip over that one. New radial menu for reloading firearms. Can't say I noticed that. I think I maybe
See-
never reloaded a gun.
No, I think I found last year and kind of never moved on from that mentality that having like something physical to hit zombies with is easier than having a gun because the aiming and then shooting, it's much easier to just run up, especially if you've got something good. Just run up and hit them.
And so much more satisfying.
Oh,
well, to be
yeah.
fair, the shotguns are quite satisfying. Well, very satisfying.
yeah.
But the
It's
like
the noise as well,
classic
isn't
baseball
it?
bat. With,
Yeah,
like that
and
kind
yeah,
of
like you
thing.
said, shotguns are loud.
Yeah.
And I would say 90% of my shots miss.
yeah. Although they did improve the targeting, but even so, it's that isometric thing. If you're not super used to it, it can be a little bit.
Whereas like you get a baseball bat or like I don't know, a golf club or other.
It's difficult to miss, isn't it?
It's like you say, it's more fun just run up and whack, whack. And I found it just more effective because and you're not having to reload and shoot. It's just whack, 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 whack.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't really use guns much.
No.
This year.
No. There's things about loot balance. It now says that the loot spawns in the containers that you'd expect it to. So I think in previous builds it was a bit more random within the house. But even though I think last time, again, this is probably something that we did experience because I remember getting hair dye in the bathroom and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I remember going to the supermarket and like there'd be different aisles, and one aisle would have like a cucumber,
Yeah.
beers, magazines, and like golf balls, and you
Yeah.
were like, okay.
So it's set for the building, but just
That
not
all the
organised
supermarkets
properly,
were
yeah.
the middle aisle at Aldi.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that's just Aldi, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's just general fixes and QOL improvements, quality of life. I think that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that is everything from build 41.
It's quite a significant upgrade.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those games where the Indie Stone are quite keen to. They've been working on it for so long. It's been like half their entire adult lives. They're quite keen to keep on improving and fixing anything they can. So
yeah.
It's
They're
nice to see.
incredibly dedicated.
even if it's these tiny little things like, oh, now you can style your hair.
yeah.
It's something, isn't it?
And as Hamish said earlier, seemingly very masochistic as well in terms of creating and
how did you
improving.
describe the makers of the game before we started the pod?
Psychopaths, I think it was.
I thought you called them sadists.
Oh, it might have been sadists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both sadists and masochists and psychopaths.
Good friends at the Indie Stone. But you meant it as a compliment.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah,
of
I call
course.
all my friends psychopaths.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spoke about this, Hamish. My therapist said I'm not.
So with Build 42 and the future, I've got part of a blog post here, which I'm not going to read through because I don't want to read it word for word. But the main thing that's been revealed so far is to do with the way that the chunks are developed and the way that the chunks spawn. So like the areas and that sort of thing. They originally had an 8-story limit, which is more than I thought. I don't know if I've ever come across. I think in the newest update, which is something I skipped over, they did have like taller skyscrapers in the city, but I don't think I ever really explored that recently.
Yeah, and I think instinctively I would have avoided them anyway, because if you go up to the story, there's like one way in, one way out, and you never want to be in that situation.
Yeah, that's it. And now they're going to increase it to 32 levels.
Yes.
And something that you mentioned last week, Lewis, is that goes both above ground and below ground.
Yeah, they mentioned in the project news last week that they're introducing sewage systems.
That's it.
So you can go down and kind of go under the roads. I assume zombies can get down there too, but it could bring another element if you see like a horde of zombies.
Yeah.
Pop down, go underneath them. Could be quite an interesting
to be welcomed by another horde of zombies in the sewers.
Yeah, and then because it's the one way in, one way out thing. It's a risk if you go down there and get cut off one side and there's some behind you. That's it, you're done. So it's an
exciting
interesting risk.
It's going to be.
It's also they've also mentioned,
and I imagine it affects your cleanliness as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm going to be spending more time at that washing machine. I think.
And it's like infections and stuff as well. I imagine, like because you can put the dirty bandages on and then you have to clean them, all that sort of stuff. And they mention here as well there'll be basements in a lot of buildings because American buildings, lots of them do have basements compared to England and other places in the world.
Yeah, all the basements here get just turned into 1-bedroom flats.
yeah. It's just like
that's someone who's been looking for a flat for way too long,
or someone who's sitting in one right now. But it basically they're talking about how it's going to increase replayability, so it's an extra level onto what we've talked about before. And they talk about lighting. So they're going to have a new, I think it's like a dynamic lighting system. At the moment, it's based purely on time of day, what light's coming through.
Yeah.
They're going to make it a bit more dynamic and
weather systems.
I think so, yeah. And maybe as where the sun is in the sky will affect it kind of thing. And that will go into basements and stuff too. Because you'll need like torches, and I was gonna say torches or something else. Pretty much gonna need torches to go underground.
Candles,
just
gotta walk around with a candle. There you go.
Yeah,
you can play set your own Victorian challenge. No electricity.
I'm sure there are candles. I don't know at the moment, but those are the two kind of things. So it's the lighting system and the subterranean world. Is that what you're going to say?
Hamish jumped up to say the subterranean.
Finishing his drink quickly. Those are the two things that are being revealed at the moment. So I think that adds it's like a visual / quality of life / performance side of it, and then like a content side of it. And I'm sure by the time 42 is finished, there will be a hell of a lot more.
Do we have any kind of timeline for 42? I know the history of the Indie Stone. We don't want to push time on them.
It's the George R.R. Martin kind of.
They'll set a deadline, and then the day before there'll be some terrorist attack on their neighbour or something. Knowing them.
I somehow missed this as well. There is also going to be the first set of animals in there as well.
Nice.
I don't know if there's
animals and zombie
I don't know if they're
animals.
going to be zombified
exactly, yeah.
animals. I
But
think
that could be interesting
great.
as well, because you could bring in a hunting element.
Yeah.
Hunting deer and then dragging it home
it's
and
got
cooking it.
foraging. God, foraging.
Yeah.
Nigel foraging.
Yeah.
Stealing all your jokes there.
Damn it, man.
But if you've got like a knife or something, you go out, kill a boar,
Yeah.
but then having to do it quietly and then having to carry that weight as well.
You heard it here first, guys. There's going to be a hunting element in the next Project Zomboid patch.
Well,
Maybe next Projoctober we'll be talking about the hunting element.
Well, on that topic, it does say here that it will be a sizable amount of time after build 41 is fully wrapped. So it looks like, because they're still balancing 41, even though it's out now, as we've been experiencing, I think certain kind of technical sides of it, things with like player limitations, I think they were still testing on one of the updates. So you can get 100, or they tried 100 players. I don't think it's a stable build.
I don't have 100 friends.
I know. I think it'd be public servers.
Oh, okay, phew, go.
So I was going to say, like, with the speculation about Beyond, what elements would you guys like to see in the future? I mean, like I said, I think the hunting thing would be...
yeah. So Lewis has already done his one. Yeah. Teacher's pet over there.
So I would love boats and planes.
I was going to say helicopters.
Helicopters.
I think boats are a nice, easy one that would work really well.
Yeah.
You just go out.
The only problem is obviously the size of the maps.
Yeah.
But you just need to create like a little lake or something. Go out there, and then you'd have to come back for food and resources.
Yeah, islands, that kind of.
And you could have them slowly kind of either swim or float across to you, so you're not completely safe. Because it would be a bit obvious if you could just go to an island and wait.
Well,
but then Pirates of the Caribbean zombies can walk under water.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
That could be quite fun as well. You think you're safe on the island, and then they suddenly emerge from out the water.
What was it? The original XCOM games, they had kind of XCOM as we kind of know it, but obviously kind of a lot older. Yeah. And then there was a underwater X-Men, and I can't remember what it was called, but Deep Unknown or something like that.
Right.
So the aliens, you're like, all of your XCOM people were in swimsuits, and you had like harpoon guns, and then the aliens were in swimsuits.
Was it like the aliens were already underwater already?
Exactly.
Like
so
a kind of Atlantis type thing.
The kind of mothership got a signal when it awakened under the sea, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that would be quite well. Obviously, it's a lot of work not to. I'm sure they've got a lot of work.
How about you, Sam?
I was going to say helicopters, but I'm sure that's all right. I mean, they could go like, I don't know at the moment if this is something that I just haven't experienced, but like I'm thinking of Dead Rising. In the second one onwards, you could craft like increasingly stupid weapons. So things like a chainsaw tied onto like a broom handle as like a spear thing. I don't know if they'd ever get quite as kind of ridiculous, but like I know you can kind of do spears by like sharpening bits of wood and stuff, but maybe a slightly more in-depth weapon system might be quite cool.
Yeah, I think another thing that might be quite fun would be a living NPC like community.
Okay,
so like say like the prison, you've got like a group of 10 living NPCs working there. You join the community, and then one of them might fuck up and something can
that could be quite
as a
cool,
group with the NPCs you need to kind of do
it's like,
something, or you can turn around and kill them and make yourself the leader.
Like Rimworld, State of Decay-esque kind of thing, where you've got those NPCs would be really interesting.
Like, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Rimworld means very different to me.
It's your favourite late night website, isn't it?
They're both games which I highly recommend.
Games, you say?
I was thinking on that point of the kind of community thing, and it's something that you see in things like more like MMOs and stuff like that. If and I'm sure it does exist, if the player limit is stably up to 100 or even anywhere near that, is people hosting servers that are continually online, and people creating these kind of communities with players.
Yeah,
I think that's a really interesting.
It'd be interesting to have like rival communities
Yeah.
as well, where you not only fight the zombies, but you're fighting each other for resources.
You can set factions. I know I don't know if it was just a host function, but you can make factions, and I didn't really play around with it because it was just, just the three of us. So, although I could have just set two of us against the other one.
Well, just three factions. Go on.
Yeah.
I think that's all the main bits I've got to say. Have any of you guys got any like final thoughts and stuff before we move on?
I was thinking like grenade launchers and stuff like that. I don't know if they're in it, but if they're not, that should be something that should be put in it.
That would be quite fun. Where you got like a massive horde following you.
Yeah.
Go the whole hog, completely destructible environments.
Oh yeah. I mean, the way they're going, I wouldn't be surprised if that's 43.
That is the thing, actually. Like, there's like the windows and stuff can get broken, but there's not too much destroyable things.
Yeah, I think like
there might be. I haven't encountered it myself.
It could be like a natural next step, particularly if you do that kind of factions thing. You've built up a base. The other team with their grenade launchers could blow up a wall and
with their attack helicopters.
Yeah,
maybe not.
Just be a litter of dead friendships behind you where you destroyed other people's bases.
First of all, you said a litter of dead French ships.
It just becomes a naval simulator instead. That's what Hamish is hoping for with the naval update.
Yeah. The game slowly evolves into battleships.
The HMS Friend. That's what I want.
The friendship. There we go. So, I think that is that for our second episode on Project Zomboid. Maybe I'll come back to this next year, but that means it's time for Personal Project.
Oh, sorry.
And this time, it's personal.
Projects.
Yeah,
you laugh, but David did the exact same thing last week.
So we've got a couple bits, the ongoing things to talk about. But before we get into those, have either of you got any other personal projects that you want to talk about?
Yes. So something we actually mentioned last year that's finally come out is the new Marvel standalone Werewolf by Night.
Yeah,
that came up on Disney Plus at the weekend, I think.
Friday it came out, just gone.
I watched it on Saturday. I didn't realize I was that keen for Marvel content.
Yeah.
But Sam, you watched it.
I
Hamish,
did. Yeah.
You didn't?
No, I haven't.
I thought it was very good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think the black and white stuff worked really well.
Yep.
It did feel like a horror.
Yeah.
Like a tame horror, but a horror.
The most
short film
horror that the MCU's gone for sure.
Yeah, kind of the world building in that short stuff was quite fun.
Yeah, because it's like 52 minutes or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
with credits as well. So it's a special presentation, I think.
It's all like in that one location of like the manor house and its gardens.
Yeah.
So it's quite small scale, but they do a lot with it. I also, at the end, it came up Michael Giacchino, and I was like, it's cool that he did the score for this. And then the next bit was composed by Michael Giacchino. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It turns out he directed it.
It's his directorial debut. And he's known normally as a composer, as you say.
Yeah, he's done loads.
The Batman most recently, I think.
Yeah, he's done some Marvel stuff in the past.
Yeah. And you can see that it's a bit like, I've seen comparisons with, oh my God, I've completely forgot what he's called now. The guy, the 80s guy who did all the, oh my God, this is very embarrassing, who did the soundtracks as well as directing his films. Everyone keep talking while I quickly Google this, because this is very
so Lewis,
embarrassing.
you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think I've seen lots of talk about they should give Michael Giacchino more stuff because it's directed really well, and obviously his score is great, and it works with his directing well.
John Carpenter.
But like a lot of the shots and stuff are really well done. There's that one bit where the main character kind of gets grilled from behind that looks really good.
Yeah, it's not really that spoilery. And Hamish, you said earlier that you're not super fast. I would recommend watching it, but Man Thing is a character that's in this quite a bit. Ted, yeah. I thought that was a really fun inclusion. It's not someone we've seen in the MCU before.
No, and he looked really good.
They did a practical puppet for some of it. I don't know how much of it was actually what we saw, but there's a behind the scenes shot where they're all standing with this like 8-foot tall swamp creature there, and it's quite cute.
Yeah. But yeah, it was nice and gory, which you can get away with when it's black and white because it's black, so it doesn't count as blood. The story was also interesting as well. Like ways, it developed, it had some twists and turns, and then kind of a big climactic payoff.
Yeah. I think it's a really good entry into like the first entry into proper supernatural kind of Marvel stuff, because we've got like the sorcery stuff in like Doctor Strange and stuff, but this and like with Blade coming up at some point. Yeah, I think it's got lots of. I actually saw recently they've moved that back by like 6 months, which makes sense. It was supposed to start filming, Hamish, as of this month, October, and then the director left as they were about to start pre-production.
They had some creative differences.
I think it was that. Yeah,
so I don't think Mahershala Ali was quite happy with the direction it was going.
So that's. But apparently, with this idea of these special presentations, it's something that they're looking to do more, and certain things that were announced as series are being looked at as special presentations instead, because if you can make it like an hour-long special rather than 6 kind of spread out episodes, I think everyone would be for that. Really,
you can make it'd be cheaper to make. You can make the story more compressed and direct.
Yeah. I think there was one that was like a Wakanda series that was in the works. That was one of the ones that was name dropped as maybe being. It could be a special, and then the next year they could do another one that follows the story on. But if it's not got enough legs to do 6 episode minimum, I just don't bother really.
Yeah, we are kind of spoiled at the moment with kind of Marvel TV shows and others, but so you kind of feel like maybe they don't want to satirize the market too
and it's
much.
Getting to that point.
The
really
thing is, like, if this is successful, then maybe other franchises will look at doing like 1 hour stand, like a Star Wars could do a 1 hour standalone mini story of completely unknown characters because the Star Wars world building's already there.
And the BBC have done it with quite a few of their kind of things. You've got like Doctor Who's where they've done like kind of a standalone episode. You've got that kind of thing already done in the past that was quite successful. So it might be a way forward.
Definitely.
You know, especially Marvel have got 1,000 films, they've got 1,000 TV shows. It's something else that's a bit different. I saw another thing as well about how they've been going for years and years trying to get the Monsters universe going. Dracula reboots and Frankenstein reboots, and then Marvel come along and make one of the better like things of that
horror
genre.
leading things. Classic horror.
But it'd be intrigued if they did more stories like this, and then maybe even interlink them way in the future.
I think it's a good thing for building a team up over time as well, or introducing characters that are in a film later, because you don't need to do like what the Netflix series used to do and have like 12 slightly spread thin episodes to build up to something, where you can just do over a couple of years, have a couple of really solid specials.
If they make it like horror-y.
Sorry, what was that?
Then they could just do one each October for Halloween.
I think that is something that's been talked about leading up to this, and it's that element as well of the slightly more adult nature with the gore and stuff. Even if the next ones aren't black and white, because they're going straight to Disney Plus, it means that they're not worried about losing cinema revenue by aging out people and putting it like, you know, the 12-year-olds can't see it. But on Disney Plus, they could technically watch it, you know, and the numbers are still there.
Do you have any idea of what else they're planning? Because, like,
I think Man-Thing was one that was name dropped ahead.
I mean, you can do bigger properties like Ghost Rider in this kind of style, but they might want to do it a bigger thing.
I think if they're big names, I think
what would have been good for this would have been Morbius, but Sony kind of fucked that, and we won't see a good Morbius for at least a decade. And I've always liked Morbius as a character, and now he's ruined.
You don't sound bitter at all. It's fine.
No, but you've got characters like that, because Morbius being a vampire, like the more horror elements that Marvel do have in the comics are very suited to this.
Yes.
Doing more, let's just do a horror-y thing. There it is again, horror-y. I don't know what else they've got of that. No, kind of style.
I can't find anything just for having a quick look. But somebody's put a little article together here on Game Rant, which has 5 horror comics that could make great future Halloween specials.
Game Rant's very good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's been on Project News before.
One is The Tomb of Dracula. I do feel that Dracula will probably be saved as a bad guy for a Blade film, probably.
Yes. There's also it could be they could do that Moon Knight thing.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I was kind of half expecting in this, it's something I mentioned in personal projects before. Moon Knight's first appearance was in like issue 30 of Werewolf by Night, and Moon Knight was a werewolf hunter that was hired by a group of criminals and it was like they fight for a bit and then they end up friends kind of thing. So I wasn't sure if there was going to be a little reference in this, but they're keeping it separate and everything.
But I don't think just because Dracula may be a kind of a villain for Blade doesn't mean that there can't be some sort of hour and a half. It's feature.
You could
kind
introduce
of
Dracula as a short series, a short special, and then have him as the villain for the next Blade film.
Because then it saves you so much time for want of a better phrase, when you've released the feature film.
You've got all the characters, stuff.
Established villain rather than just he's a bad guy.
Spend half the film building up who they are and what their motives are.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing about a lot of these series. Like something like Moon Knight, we could now see a Moon Knight film because they've done a lot of the legwork already.
Yeah.
We've got Man Thing, which we've already covered there. They've mentioned Son of Satan, which is Hellstrom, Damien Hellstrom. Or Damon Hellstrom.
Didn't they do a Hellstrom series?
There's a Hulu series that was cancelled one season in, and I think it was just pre-Disney buying Fox or Disney buying Hulu or something. Okay. So it could easily be overdone. We've got Tales of the Zombie, which
haven't we just done that? Oh no, different projects on board.
Actually, one thing that was our Tales of the Zombie. What if zombies? There is a Marvel Zombies thing coming at some point, I think. So that may be something that comes around this time next year. The description here: Simon Garth is a workaholic who finds himself slain as a sacrifice by a voodoo cult. After his resurrection, he's a powerful undead monster who can be commanded by anyone holding a special amulet. Great. That sounds like
it's a tough Saturday night. That
first of all, you said Simon Garfunkel.
I'm sure that's We've got Legion of Monsters. So this is something that is kind of what we were implying there. There is like a monster team in the Marvel comic universe. So it would be people like Werewolf by Night and Man Thing. So that could be something they could lead to in, 5 years time or whatever. It even mentions Michael Morbius in here. So.
But that's kind of a bit of the beauty of the Marvel franchise at the moment, is it can lead to, you can have a character in one thing and then slowly build up a team.
And it's one of the criticisms that me and Lewis have had over the last couple of months, that recently it's felt a little bit less like that and more like, things on their own are fine, but if they don't feel like grounded in the universe, and because we're so spoilt for everything being interconnected, everything pre-She-Hulk, I think this phase has felt very like disjointed.
Yeah.
And I think part of that's COVID and things having to be moved around, but there's only so much you can blame on that when we're 2.5 years into a pandemic.
Another thing they could do is like a dark Kraven the Hunter, unless Sony get there first and release a shit film.
I think there is I think Aaron Taylor Johnson has actually filmed a film, whether it comes out or not is
but that could be something you do, a dark story of like a special of you don't even necessarily need to have Spider-Man in it.
No,
the Sony film won't. So,
although they're doing a Madam Web film, which, I mean, Lewis, you know a little bit about Madam Web.
Yeah, I don't know how
Hamish, you know much about.
No, I can't.
Lewis, who's Madam Web?
So my main knowledge of Madam Web is from the 90s animated series, where she's kind of a half villain, but also
Catwoman.
No, she's kind of like an old mysterious lady who influences Spider-Man, and he doesn't
kind of
really...
like magical. It's very strange.
Yeah, and can touch like other universes and stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit like they used it a bit like in the Spider-Verse film, where it was like it was like as if there was a person kind of pulling the strings to get people together. She sits in a weird kind of web chair, and she's like, I think she's blind, but not blind. You know, she can see everything.
But I think they'd struggle to. Didn't she turn up in one of the Netflix series, or somebody that was like a character? Or maybe I'm thinking someone else.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know who you're thinking. But I
think it'd be hard to do a standalone.
Well, they're filming it at the moment, and it's got a couple of. There's Dakota Johnson who.
I did see
you
that.
may all know from 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, no, she's not the one I'm thinking of.
Not. You're thinking of Daisy Johnson, Chloe Bennett.
Yeah.
No,
Chloe Bennett.
Although every now and then I show Lewis quite often when I see them. There's posts on Instagram going, Daisy Johnson, Chloe Bennett confirmed to return to her role. And it's like, you look at the source and it's like, yeah, trust me, bro. It's like, it would be great. And I'm sure she will turn up at some point. But yeah. But no, yeah, Dakota Johnson is, she is playing Madam Web, but I guess a young version.
Yeah, which again is weird.
Yeah.
Isn't Madam Web been like 80 for like 1,000 years?
I think so, but
something?
I think there's a second version of her or something. It's one of those things. But from what I've kind of seen through kind of vague leaks and stuff, I think they're doing a film where she is tasked with trying to stop like Peter Parker from someone's trying to stop Peter Parker from like being born. And it's like a bit of a time travel thing. So they'll include like the allusion to Spider-Man without actually having a Spider-Man in it.
The thing with these specials as well.
So it probably won't be very interesting. Really.
You don't even necessarily need to do the horror element. You could just do minor characters that aren't deserving of their own series or films. Yeah.
And I think that's this Wakanda idea.
Yeah, they want to feature them at some point. Like, some of the characters that have had minor parts in the films, they could have just been like, oh, actually, let's do a 1 hour special.
Even like Jimmy Woo, like the guy from Ant-Man who's in WandaVision as well. Like, do a thing that's a bit Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.y where he's just dealing with some MCU stuff. Like, we'll talk about She-Hulk in a bit.
Could be more like a comedic
the world building side
of it.
Yeah,
and then
kind of,
you could do like I don't know, another Black Widow, just their experience unrelated to Natasha Romanoff or Florence Pugh.
Well, that's something that I've seen people make the connection with the old Marvel one shots that used to be like the extra on the DVD, and they used to be like the 10-minute or so bonus.
And they were good,
and they were great, but you'd get this feeling of like, oh, I kind of wish we had more of that. And this could kind of take that place and be like, rather than being 10 minutes, it could be half an hour, it could be 50 minutes. And like you say, it just fleshes out a character that everyone liked but didn't get to see enough of.
You could do like or even like a soft reboot of things like Black Bolt, because Black Bolt is back in the MCU despite the series being shit. So they could be like, hey, Black Bolt's a fun character, get Anson Mount back and just do a special of Black Bolt being an actual character.
Just King of the Inhumans kind of thing.
Just like a day in the life of Black Bolt.
Exactly. Yeah,
that'd be quite fun actually. Just a day in the life of some random character where they just get up to tiny little hijinks. It would kind of be like the one shot. Something happened on the way to Thor's hammer.
That's what I was thinking with the Jimmy Woo thing. I was thinking it could
Phil
be
Coulson just going into the shop and being Phil Coulson,
having a little fight with somebody. Cool. Well, Hamish, before we get into anything, have you watched anything or done anything of interest recently?
Well, I don't want to say watch anything because I'm sure we'll be talking about them shortly. But I don't.
You cut
it's
your
okay
toenails this week, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and I washed my clothes. Or was that in real life or on a video game? I can't remember which it was. But no, nothing really.
No,
massive to report.
I mean, we've got loads of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say we've got plenty.
The only thing I've got other than Werewolf by Night and the plethora of things that we've got to talk about.
The what?
Plethora.
Oh,
I think it's plethora works.
Okay,
fine, so I'm doing it in an accent. Plethora.
Let us know how you pronounce
in the comments
in the YouTube comments. Plethora, we can all just get it up on here and see what Google tells us.
Is it Hamish or Hamish? Let us know.
Whoa, that was very loud. And that
Plethora.
was what Hamish said there. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
but yeah, the thing that I touched on a little bit was the Nemesis comic series. So,
yes,
those who listened to last episode, which of course is everybody listening now, will know that Lewis expertly told us the story of Project Nemesis. I 2 nights later decided to start reading the Nemesis comic.
my retelling was that
It
good.
was I only got about halfway through because it felt like reading something for the second time.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll give myself a little bit of space. The
How-
artwork is fantastic.
How far did you get in?
So I got to the parade where the mayor gets eaten.
Oh, so quite a decent
Yeah,
chunk in then.
I think there's 6 issues, so I don't
Yeah.
know. It might slow down a bit as it goes through.
Is it just the first issue? Because
No, that was 2 or 3 issues I got. Maybe that was 2 issues.
That feels
yeah.
like a good third into the book.
Yeah, well, that would make sense. 2 out of 6.
Yeah.
But it was good. The artwork's really it's
Did
quite
Mako look
cartoony.
how you kind of
Yeah, it's slightly different to the pictures that you sent me at the time. But the only thing that I would kind of criticize is it did feel like a summary. It moved very quickly because it had to take bits out. And even though I heard a summary from you, Lewis, it felt like it moved very quickly, and it felt slightly. I don't mean any disrespect to anyone who was involved in it. It felt slightly like a fan comic or something like that, which does sound very disrespectful, but
it just gives credit to my
It
retelling
does,
of
yeah.
storytelling
my
ability.
choice of what to keep in and
It
what
does,
to
it
skip
does,
over.
yeah. But I will get back to that at some point, maybe after recording
How
tonight.
does
I'll finish it.
Sheriff Collins look?
Oh,
compared to-
not as sexy as I was imagining. It's sexy Collins over there. No. But she did have red hair, which is something that you mentioned off pod, that you imagined her with different coloured hair.
Yeah, and right at the end of the book, they mentioned she's got red hair, and I was like, huh, okay.
Oh, they also skip out the bear attack, which I thought was weird.
Really?
Yeah, and there's you can see claw marks on his car, and he was like, I kind of remember a bear, and it's like paints him as
So
more of
does it-
like a drunk guy.
Does it start with him waking up in the morning?
Yeah,
then?
he wakes up with the knocks on the
Interesting.
door, and there's certain little bits with like the development in the forest. I think they skip like after he does the signal on his, like he scratches his face, that guy.
Yeah.
That's when the attack happens. They don't go back and find the dead guy, so it's streamlined in
Okay.
a way. I think.
I quite like that bit.
Yeah,
where you go back and
I think
find
the fact
Mr.
that
Johnson.
that it was like not just streamlined in terms of like chosen dialogue bits, but the actual story was cut down. That's why it felt quite jarring. It's like reading like a abridged version of something was a bit close to
I mean,
the telling. for
comics
me,
always gonna do that a bit compared to books because
Yeah.
there's less dialogue and.
But I think because I
writing.
read quite a lot of comics, the comic writing wasn't on par with stuff that I normally read.
Yeah, but I mean,
because it's a translation of
and also you're probably used to reading like Marvel comics, for example, not a comic version of like an independent or not independent.
Well,
but
even
like
even I think if something's made for a comic, even if there's masses of dialogue, it's chosen dialogue for that, and it's very tailored to it. And I've read comics that have as much dialogue on a page as a short book was, but it's chosen specifically. And I think there was something that was lost in translation a little bit for me, but artwork wise, it was good. It looks nice. But I'll let you guys know when I finish that. But
Nice.
I think that probably is time to move on to our masses of TV stuff. So where does everyone want to start here?
Well, I think we're just spoiled rotten at the moment.
We
a little
are.
bit.
Yeah, I think
I don't feel like
in
I
the
deserve
last
it.
few weeks we've started with Power Rings.
Yeah, we
so I'm
can
quite
start with
happy
that.
to
So
go with that.
We've got
Yeah.
2 episodes to cover here.
Yeah, I kind of forgot what happened in each, but it's obviously
Yeah, I've got a couple of notes just because I knew that we were gonna
you've got
probably forget.
got the battle with the orcs that turn out to be people, and then the battle
Oh,
with the
Yeah.
orcs.
it's so cool.
And
Yeah,
then and then the Numenorians roll in, and then the
Yeah.
volcano goes off.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
the after effects there, and that's just that plot line.
Yes, that was most of those 2 episodes were based
and
around
you've got
those 2.
this
I think.
stranger they get to the place, it's been destroyed, and then he fixes the tree, but he's been kicked out, and
then the monkey people, monk-ish people turn up. And, yeah.
And then you've got the whole Elrond and Jorin talking about the Mithril, and Jorin has a very emotional argument with his dad, and then the fucking Balrog wakes up.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. There were some good episodes. I was enjoying it. Yeah,
it's just like awesome. Like from the get that we'll specifically talk about these last two episodes. It just kind of having the fight where you got all the humans go off and join Arda, whatever his name is, and
something
then
like that, Adar or
Adar. And then just the reveal of them, the orcs they're fighting against being the humans that had gone away.
Although the one problem I've got with that is that it definitely seemed like we did see a lot of people with helmets on,
and there were still orcs.
There were still orcs there, but when it first got revealed, it seemed like everyone was humans, and I was like, "No, that's bullshit."
Also, I said to Christina at the time, like everyone's kind of upset about. They are still the enemy. They've got to join the other side. They're still the enemy.
But they were people that they used to live. It's like a civil war kind of situation.
I've been saying, as we've covered.
I've been there, mate.
Civil war.
People have called it a bit slow and stuff, but I've said throughout that I've always been enjoying this. I like where it's going.
I think
I like the fact that I don't know where it's going or what's going on.
Well, no, it's world building. It's Tolkien kind of wrote these books, but so much was left untold as well, and so much has been left untold by the films. I hate it
when people are like, "Oh, Galadriel's so different than she is in Lord of the Rings." It's like, 1,000 years has passed.
It's like, she's not a meditating elf who's really good at looking people. It's because she can spend 200 years learning the sword, 200 years learning the bow, 200 years learning how to read. And also, if she's like Kate Blanchett, Galadriel in this, there's no room for character growth. She's going to be super boring. Granted, Elrond's chin, that's a pretty significant change.
I mean, the visuals you kind of have to brush over a little bit. There is. Considering that based on the current timeline, at least what we know of Isildur and his age, it's maybe 40 years at most until...
He's dead.
Oh he's dead.
Do you know what? He's probably alive, but I'd really.
Someone else is going to take his place.
I'd really like it if he is just dead, and it's just some other character called Isildur, and it's a giant red herring, and they've just fooled everyone, being like, "Oh, you thought Isildur's? Isildur's not for another 500 years, guys."
And also go kind of jumping ahead. A House of the Dragon, a house that talking about people don't remember stuff, remember names, that kind of thing, remember blood, is it really, could someone else be Isildur?
It would be interesting. They have really set it up with this slow build for some kind of change of expectation, and me and Lewis have talked in the past about was everything like running at the same timeline, and I really fully well thought that when the village was getting attacked and the soldiers from Numenor came up, I was like, are they going to arrive? And that battle happened like 100 years ago. And
I was watching too much Westworld.
I literally, exactly. I mean, it made sense to go the way it did, but I tricked myself into getting too overly clever.
It essentially got confirmed that the Harfoots is in the same timeline as well, because their place got destroyed by the volcano.
That's true.
So it is all in the same timeline.
Yes.
That kind of scene where you just see Mount Doom erupts.
Oh, fantastic.
The chills were just...
Although I have to say, the change from Southlands to Mordor was a little dumb.
So me and Amy were talking about that after, and we were like, I said to her, I feel like that was something where they left it unsaid, and then they had people receiving it and going, it's not super clear what's happened here, so they felt they had to add the Mordor
like
bit
everyone
on.
Fucking knew it was going to be Mordor.
I mean, we talked about it for episodes ago.
And you look at the map, and it's like those bizarrely square mountain range, which would never happen in real life. That goes around Mordor. I saw I saw an edit of it. Had the clip in at the start of Return of the King, where you get Smeagol's growth into Gollum.
Right.
And the bit in the cave where he changes from Smeagol to Gollum, and someone edited over the writing saying Smeagol,
Nice.
and then he opens his eyes and that big and it changes to Gollum.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. I thought it was funny how it was like the sword key thing was such like the fact that that one old guy managed to steal that away was just, like completely fucked everyone up and changed the course of it all for like forever practically. I thought it was.
I liked as
cool.
well how it almost had the classic fantasy trope of like, oh, our king is here, hero, everything's going to be great now. Almost like it does in Return of the King, where Aragorn becomes king and everyone's happy forever after. Halbrand turns up and like, oh, we've got a king. And then the moment he's announced as king, it's like, oh, nope, you're all dead.
yeah.
I really like the bit as well when you find out the Queen Regent is blind. And she's
really
traveling on the horse.
lovely bit.
And she's like, how far to the camp? And you see the guy kind of realise.
When does this fog lift? And it's like, hang on, there's fog around.
I've got to admit, I think I'm either slightly stopped paying attention or something, but I was like, I kind of slightly missed that reveal, and I was like, oh right, okay, yeah. He didn't have the full weight for me, but I think that was my own fault more than anything.
No. Subtitles do.
It was funny that she then did the classic blind thing of having a thing round her face. It's like she's not got like injuries that need covering,
but it avoids you staring at people, doesn't it? That's why blind people wear sunglasses.
Yeah.
That's not because the sun's rays.
Oh damn it, I thought that's what it was.
But I think I've been really enjoying it, and I think there's no kind of massively weak elements. I don't think.
No, like I think the whole Elrond Durin stuff is my favourite scenes.
Okay, interesting.
I really enjoy the dwarves. I think Durin's a fantastic character, and he's not just a two-dimensional dwarf. There's layers to him.
It made me really want to like play like a Dungeons and Dragons game with elves and dwarves and like have them as like a friendship or something. That side of it, I think, is a big strength.
And the awakening of Durin's Bane, the Balrog.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how it's going to work with the timeline.
This is what I don't know, because we talked before about, so Gimli was unaware that Khazad-dûm had been destroyed.
Yeah, because his like, uncle was there.
But because they say they dug
are
too deep.
Yeah,
that's the thing, which is what's happened here, surely, with the Mithril.
But I think Balrogs are Maya or they Valar. I can't remember which one they are.
I think they're like Maya. Dark Maya or something like that.
So they are pretty much kind of.
But I mean, because Gandalf's Maya as well.
Yeah, which is why they were like.
So that's kind
of against each other. But that's what I'm thinking. The Balrog, if it comes up and destroys Khazad-dûm now, then why would Gimli not know? Because I think it's 2,000 years till Lord of the Rings, something like that.
I thought it was only 1,000.
Or it's somewhere in the middle. Because I think because I watched Fellowship of the Ring recently. It's something like, I'm trying to remember. It was something like, I think Gollum had it for 500 years, the ring, and before that, Isildur had it for a couple of years, and then it was I can't remember. Isildur had it, then it was lost for 1,000 years, maybe. Then Gollum had it for 500. Right. Anyway, so maybe it's 1,500.
Okay.
But either way, that's what I mean.
And I think
unless they're just fighting the Balrogs for a while, but I don't know. I'm just not 100%.
In the Fellowship of the Ring, I think it kind of implies that the doom of Khazad-dûm kind of happened in the last 50 to 100 years.
That's what I'm thinking,
because, and also actually we see a couple of the dwarf graves and skeletons are two of the dwarves from The Hobbit.
Right.
So it is in the last like 50 years that all happened.
Yeah. Well, that's
maybe
sure
the Balrog just chills out for 1,000 years.
Yeah, it could just be a little reference to it. The fact that because when Gandalf's reading the thing about the dwarves, they mine too deep or whatever. I'm making the connection with this, but maybe that's not.
I love
exactly
how
what it's referring to.
It looked exactly like it does in Fellowship. Like it looks spot on. And you're like, instantly you're like, that's the fucking Balrog.
It was just such a cool reveal, wasn't it? And I think the only problem I had kind of slightly was that it was in the sneak peek of the episode.
I don't watch any of the sneak peeks.
That was a bit.
I think I'd seen one of the promotional images said like Rings of Power coming soon, and it was a Balrog, but I didn't know when that would, which is a terrible thing to put in.
Yeah,
it's a terrible thing to put. But I mean, what have we got? 2 episodes or just one
Two
more?
episodes
2
left,
episodes
I
to go, I
think.
think.
Oh, is it?
So-
Oh, really?
But they have planned like 5 seasons.
5
so
seasons, yeah.
I think, although
Imagine
I've been one
something
of the people
big
who,
will happen in the last 2.
although
but-
I've criticised the kind of slow pace before, the fact that it is clearly building something now has redeemed it a lot for me.
Yeah, and I do like how they've got the ongoing mystery of which one of these characters is Sauron.
Yeah, so me and Amy were making bets on this, and 2 episodes ago, I was like, Halbrand is Sauron.
See, I prefer the theory that Halbrand's the Witch King.
Yeah, I think that's more likely, yeah. Especially, he's been stabbed by this thing. Maybe he's going to be weak and he's going to take a ring to get more powerful.
He's a king that's a man, and obviously it's the 9 man kings.
Or he could be one of them, but it would make sense for him to be. But I think the most obvious answer, although the stranger looked very much like Gandalf, I think the most obvious answer for if any of these characters are Sauron in disguise is for the stranger to be Sauron.
Yeah.
I hope so, to be honest with
I
you.
hope he's not.
Really?
I want the strangers to be like one of the Blue Wizards or something, or
Yeah,
a good,
with
or even
Starry.
like Saruman. I know it's a bit early in the timeline.
Yeah,
but because
I don't think
he
they'll
seems-
explicitly change.
He seems good, and I get the feeling that like Sauron at least would have elements of like, hee, I'm being sneaky, I'm being
Yeah.
evil.
There's-
Whereas he just seems kind of childlike and good, like he's just a wizard just born type thing.
The other thing that I've seen people suggest is that although Adar says that he is very unhappy to be called Sauron, Sauron himself would have been unhappy to be called Sauron because it means defiled one, and it's actually like a slur against
Right.
him. And the fact that he's saying Sauron's dead and Sauron is trying to create a new world, it does line up
But
with what his character's
it
trying to
It
do.
did, I think, in the last episode, confirm a theory that I'd mentioned on here before, that Adar was like the first
The
orc.
elf, one
Yeah.
of. Oh yes,
So I mentioned that a few weeks ago that I'd seen that
So
theory,
in that
and
sense,
that
it's
works.
probably
Uruk, isn't it?
Uruk.
Uruk.
Which is it, yeah.
Yeah. Which is like the
the first orc, because they
Yeah.
are corrupted elves and stuff. And I was
Yeah.
like, he looks like he could be that.
But
Explains why he's called father. And then they're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, go me actually got something right about this show.
Another connection with Sauron with that load of orcs there, and when they're getting rolled up to go up to the Watchtower at the start of the 2 episodes ago, when they kind of get the slight ambush and all that, when they all start chanting, it's "Find Them," which is in the Black speech, which is from the On the Ring of Power, which is a language that Sauron developed. So the fact that they are speaking the Black speech means that either they're just ex-Sauron's lot, which is probably what it is, or they've had some contact with him recently, and maybe they are secretly under his control, which I think is what you suggested before, Lewis, that he's a bit of a puppet to try and create an enemy so that Sauron can give these rings to the good guys.
Well, so I think from my kind of limited knowledge of outside of the 6 movies, Sauron Sauron gets taken to Numenor at some point by the Numenorians, and then they take him as prisoner, and then a lot of the Numenor, so they take him back to the island. A lot of the Numenorians, he kind of uses his language, and he kind of turns them into bad guys, and they invade Valinor, and so the which is the area that Gandalf and the ring bearers went to after that kind of thing. The original trilogy that we know. And then the Valar then destroy Numenor as vengeance against them for invading,
which is the flood that we keep seeing.
Yeah, we know Numenor's gone,
or at least
by
that's
the
like
time
a symbol of it.
Yeah,
I thought actually on that point of the flood, the fact that the Mount Doom being set off by this flood felt very connected to that imagery that they'd seen, and whether that is the flood that was prophesized or if it's just like that was the worst thing that the Queen wanted to see, is a fucking flood coming towards her.
And the last thing she sees.
Literally, I thought that was a very clever, or even a flood of smoke and ash as well.
I did really enjoy that orc attack on the tower.
Yeah.
And when Aaron did that whole move of jumping down and putting the thing.
It was very Legolas, wasn't
exactly,
it?
that's what I thought. I literally turned to Christine at the time. I was like, that's exactly the sort of thing Legolas would do.
Yeah.
He's
So I
such a
don't know
fucking elf.
whether he is the same type of elf. I Because I think there's Sindar. There's
Sindar and there's
Legolas a wood elf.
Yeah, but I think that is Sindar elves,
Yeah.
and then you've got kind of like Elrond elf, which is something different.
Yeah,
it's kind of like wood elf, high elf, dark elf. You know, in Oblivion,
Oh yeah,
Oblivion speakers there. Yeah. I think there might be more than that, but I think the dark elves might have been wiped out at some point or something like that. The other thing that came up in the last episode was Galadriel talking about her husband, who she thinks is dead, but is the guy Celeborn or something like that. Celeborn, yeah. And he's the one who welcomes them to Galadriel's place in Fellowship of the Ring. So he's not dead, but it's this like little line in there that goes, he is around somewhat. Well, we don't know. She doesn't know he's around. She thinks he died in war. But it's addressing that, which I think a lot of people have been like, where the fuck is this woman's husband?
She's out of control.
It'd be interesting to see how he pops up and how, to her knowledge, he's dead.
Exactly. She'll probably be kissing that guy and then he turns up. That's why she's not allowed to the forest in the So where do you want to talk about next?
Mrs. Hulk. Let's do Mrs. Hulk.
I haven't got massive written down here, but
so it was
the bad guy retreat was the episode that we needed. We got,
and then there was one after that,
and there was a very big one after that. Which
the Daredevil,
which was really fun,
fantastic. I was quite not as concerned as a lot of the very sexist and alt-right people online, but I was concerned about what they would do with Daredevil and how well it would fit in with what we.
I enjoyed. I think it
was fantastic. I think it was really good characterization.
Some of it was a bit overproduced in a way. Like at one point, Christina turned to me and was like, "Does he have like superpowers? He was doing lots of flippy stuff."
That is more in line with the traditional.
But it's not quite what he's like in the Netflix series.
But a lot
I was
of that
still
is,
like, you know what? Daredevil's fun. The only thing I would have changed is doing a one-shot corridor scene.
I mean, they did the little bit of that with the blue light thing. I thought that was really good. And the fact that you know that she's going to pop in and kind of almost ruin his moment, but they let him have his little moment still. It wasn't like she's the star of the show. She needs to take over. It was a well-balanced kind of...
and I think the previous episode as well was quite good. Like
I really liked that one as well.
So when we last spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, I openly said I'm getting a bit bored of this. I know it's a very episodic series, but I'm just kind of watching it for the sake of it. I'm not interested. And then the retreat one was really fun.
It was
all
good
those
fun.
Characters were enjoyable.
Just weird, wacky
people. Tim Roth is very fun in this.
Blonsky's so entertaining.
So different to how he was in the Incredible
And we just
Hulk.
fully were like, he's definitely evil, and he may still well have an evil turn. You know, the Abomination's a good villain or anti-hero to have at some point. But the fact that it kind of subverted the expectation that she's going to find something dodgy going on. No, she just basically has group therapy and comes to terms with issues that she'd been kind of suppressing.
That Miller guy who she'd been going on dates with, I knew it. Yeah, Josh. I knew it from the get-go, and I was so annoyed.
Too
what happened.
perfect.
I was hoping it wouldn't happen.
One thing annoyed me at the end of the episode. You've got all the incels posting her sex tape.
At the end of the match.
I don't know about you guys, but that's sexual assault, right? Like,
having
sex with somebody under like false pretenses.
And
then posting it, and everyone's kind of shocked, and then like guns get aimed at her, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not how this would develop.
I think it's more the fact that she has let her rage size go for the first time, and a lot of people's criticisms of the series as a whole was she didn't need the help of Bruce, and she didn't, and every episode has shown that she was slightly too sure of herself. She's not a bad character, she's not a bad person, but she has had issues balancing these two sides of herself, and it's come to a fore now. And maybe she should have listened to him more. And it's like it wasn't disregarding his experience as a Hulk. It's just they're different people.
Exactly. In that bit, they're at the Female Lawyer Awards.
Which is so funny. They all just get called up. I feel like
every single person in that crowd would be like, fuck these guys that have like filmed her secretly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was kind of surprised by the reaction of the crowd. They're probably scared of her.
I don't know, if you're going to an event where it's Female Lawyer Award and a lot of female lawyers have all been given it, and then the question they get asked on stage is,
what's it like?
What's it like being a female lawyer? That kind of crowd are normally going to be the ones who are going to be
a bit more judgmental.
Exactly,
about
a bit twatty about the whole sex tape kind of stuff.
But I do like, on the topic of the sex tape side of things, that first of all that Matt Murdock and She-Hulk hooked up. I thought that was great.
His walk of shame was
it was very funny. That was like, I think that was on the edge of like, if you took it slightly more silly than that, I think people would be more upset. But the fact that they both just like they fuck around, like it's fine. Like it's quite a lot of their characters as well. Like they're both pretty
I saw a lot
promiscuous
of comments
characters
on like Reddit being like, this series has done one thing that a Netflix series never done, and that was show Matt Murdock as the biggest slut in the MCU in the Marvel universe that he is.
You
in
say
the
that,
comics.
but like I think it was Night Nurse, whatever she was called, Claire, Karen Page, Elektra, like all the main women he still had sex with in this series.
But in the comics, he's obviously the biggest slut in the universe.
But what we were talking about
and then
earlier,
goes and says his sins to the church.
Well, it's classic. We having gone to a Catholic school myself, I feel like I can say that it's not meant to be. But yeah, the what we were talking about earlier about the MCU feeling kind of disconnected. I think She-Hulk has made a really good effort to make it's world building, and although not every episode has made the most of that, these last two with the random villains, and now with Daredevil making appearance, with like the leapfrog guy or whatever he's called, it's done a really good job of seeing the side of the MCU that is more like that day-to-day life stuff that we were talking about earlier. And that's one of the things that I really, really appreciate about this show, along with all the kind of good jokes and everything as well. You know?
And I think when we say it kind of, obviously it's seeming to be disconnected or disjointed, there is a running theme in a lot of these TV shows, which is Wong. He kind of keeps
cinematic universe.
Popping up everywhere, doesn't he? So I think he is
They could do a Wong special, actually.
Well, I kind of don't want them to, because I think he is the kind of Samuel L. Jackson of the previous.
I mean, he should definitely, because we talked about the
you need a person of color that's bald to run the universe.
We just got to shave his head.
We talked about the monster team up, but there's also the kind of supernatural mystical team called the Midnight Suns, and that's often led by Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme. So just fuck him off.
But he's not the Sorcerer
Have Wong,
Supreme.
That's what I mean. So you could do Wong, Ghost Rider,
I saw
Moon Knight, everyone that's like somewhere in the middle of magical and mystical.
I saw one thing in the post credits of Shang-Chi. You've got Wong, Bruce Banner, Captain Marvel, and someone else, and they're like, does the Illuminati already exist in this universe? We just haven't seen, because they would be the members of the Illuminati,
like a
smartest
cosmic
man in the
guy,
world, cosmic person, Sorcerer Supreme. That's the Illuminati, right?
I think it is coming. I think
the fact that they showed the Illuminati in another universe in Doctor Strange. Like they're clearly setting it up,
building up to it in some way.
So, should we move on to the next thing?
Dragon House.
Dragon House. Dragon House.
So the previous episode, not the most recent one, had the incredible. There was the funeral scene that was very, very tense.
It was a fantastic scene.
Very, very.
Damon is such a shit
I
stirrer.
love Damon so much.
I remember I watched an interview with Matt Smith, and he was talking about how
Is
Damon's...
it the leaner?
Yeah, exactly. He's such a leaner, and I was like, that's such a good description of him. He's such a leaner.
He just, I read about him, and I was like, he's a guy that leads.
It's so good. It's such an accurate kind of portrayal.
I did see one bit from that where I saw a TikTok that slowed it down when Viserys is like, I'll give you anything you need, and he's like, I need nothing. Before he says nothing, he pauses and almost makes an R sound with his mouth, potentially saying Rhaenyra. And it's like,
cool.
that actually adds a bit of depth to that relationship.
There was another thing that I saw. It was a TikTok where I think this was potentially people reading into something too much, but it's when is it the sea snakes reading the obituary, or is it the brother of the sea snake?
The brother of the
sea snake. He's reading not the obituary, but he's doing a little funeral speech, and he starts kind of shitting on Rhaenyra's kid's lineage a little bit. There's some little dig, and that's when Daemon starts like laughing and interrupts, and people are like, "Oh, he was looking out for her," and it's like, I don't know if that's actually what was happening there, but it kind of is a
I think
potential reading there.
Yeah, I think he just probably sees the
whole thing
and the obvious attempt from the sea snake's brother. To place himself as the next
Daemon,
which is obviously the whole next episode.
Exactly,
Daemon's so like chaotic and violent. You kind of overlook the fact that like he's smart. He can read what's going on, like politically,
especially these last
he can
two
tell
episodes.
What people want.
And they talk about it when he's in Pentos, that he's saying how about leaving behind the kind of political intrigue of Westeros and of the Targaryen kind of core.
And it feels like he's almost lost his bite in the episode before the one we're talking about now, where he's in Pentos, and you're not really sure what he's up to, and he seems like he's left it behind. But obviously, as soon as his wife at the time dies in childbirth / in Dragonfire, he's almost like, fuck it, I'm straight back in. You know.
So we then get the fight between the kids.
Yes, with the dragon.
To begin with. Aemon taking Vhagar.
The
night of fucking Laena's death. He's like, I'm going to go get that big fucking dragon.
And it's so cool. I think we've talked about it actually probably last time I was here about the difference in dragons. We talked about kind of the details compared to Game of Thrones.
I remember when Vhagar killed Laena at her request, she seemed genuinely sad about having to do it. And you could tell that she was older, bigger, older dragon that was... You can really see the emotion and the age of these dragons, which is hard to do with CGI animals.
Definitely. It's really cool that they've managed to do it.
And you see with this bit, like Vhagar kind of builds up to fire at Aemond, and then he talks Valyria and he kind of holds her in a stop and then takes control. It's really well done. And then the kids fighting after.
Which escalates very quickly. But
I can't remember if it's Jace or Luke that takes the eye out.
It's the older one of the two, I think. Jace. Yeah, because Luke is the one that was going to be on the Driftmark. And the other one was...
I've got a strong suspicion it was Jace.
All right, Aemond.
But before we get to that bit, obviously the bit that leads straight on from the kids' fight is that incredible scene where it's the accusations flying, and it's
almost battle lines being drawn.
It really is. And the fact that was not knowing, so I don't know about you, Hamish, but Lewis knows, he's read Fire and Blood, and he's pretty aware of...
You read it?
Yeah, and I have no idea, so please don't spoil anything.
It's been quite fun going through this, asking Sam where it's going.
I have literally no idea.
Cool.
And I've made certain calls throughout, that some of which have kind of slightly come true. One of my early ones was that Daemon and Rhaenyra were going to be on opposite sides of everything, and they are, if anything, on the exact same side, almost horizontally above each other, you could say. But the scene that ends in Alicent with a knife. With the knife that we've seen quite a lot throughout the series.
Do you feel like it's a bit of a... Well, I felt watching it, and I'm sure you did too, call back to season 1 Game of Thrones, where Arya and Joffrey... and then Cersei...
Yeah, which actually you mentioned recently on an episode, Lewis. I think you talked about how the Hound runs down the peasant boy. Is that the incident you're talking about?
Talking about a bit of...
Yeah, kind of. It was more so when Arya sets her dire wolf on Joffrey. Robert Baratheon kind of holds court.
Yes.
I think it's in the pub,
chaotic,
I think. And he's not... He's just saying you both get along, and that's kind of what the series does as well.
The whole time I'm thinking... And obviously we see that happen in the next episode. I'm thinking every time something's stressing this fucking old dude. He's not that old, but he looks fucking old. I'm like, this is going to be it. His heart's going to give out.
Thoroughly enjoyed that every episode Viserys looks like he's almost dead.
Yes.
And then the next episode, he looks even worse.
You didn't think it could get worse than this.
I'm genuinely not entirely sure if he's going to come back next episode just as a character who's like a zombie.
But it's I love that kind of the lack of or trying to get everyone to get along is the thing that's
keeping him going almost
and also bringing everyone apart as well. His inaction is leading to everyone arguing.
I think like George R. R. Martin's commented on the fact that Paddy Considine's brought so much more to his character than he because in Fire and Blood, Viserys is a tiny character that's you don't have any depth into him. His whole thing is set up for what's
I guess
coming.
it's the start of a
so the fact
saga,
that the old point of Fire and Blood is that he was a fairly weak king and that's about it.
Yeah.
But in this, he's so much more. And
Yeah.
Paddy Considine's done such an incredibly good job.
Well, to finish off that episode and move into a lot more kind of Viserys stuff, we get a kind of a plotting montage where Laenor is supposedly killed and then not killed, which I thought was quite good because you don't know what's going on and you kind of see the reveal. Well, and the very quick, very bloody wedding. It's kind of, is that a more traditional Targaryen wedding there they have on the beach?
That's what they were saying.
Like an old Valyria wedding.
That's what it was. Yeah,
we haven't seen two Valyrians get married in this world before.
Well, because they did kind of inherit the faith of the Seven when they came along. It was because that was the dominant faith in.
It feels more ritualistic and like pagan, doesn't it? 'Cause they've got almost like it's almost like bones and teeth on the crowns,
and very
stuff.
much kind of old gods, more kind of the Werewoods and the more kind of religion of the old gods than even Targaryen. There seemed to be to me because.
It was just an interesting. Like visually, you could see it was very different,
and especially as in House of Dragon, they have a weirwood at King's Landing or in the Red Keep, which they don't have in the books or in the Game of Thrones.
I thought it was interesting when we saw that because I was like, a whole point about in Game of Thrones is they cut down all the Werewoods in the south.
So I guess that
apart
may
from
be
the god side, but
that may be a kind of climactic moment of this series, getting rid of that
potentially.
Maybe,
although.
Because in the next episode, Alicent seems to have taken on the Seven stuff.
Exactly, like you say, just Rhaenyra coming home.
Should we move into that episode
I was
now?
going to say quickly, the death of Laenor. In the books, it's very much
he's dead.
He's dead.
Right. Okay.
And then Rhaenyra and Daemon marry, and that's the last you hear of it. So the books. But it's the whole thing of unreliable narrator in Fire and Blood because it's written by the maesters.
And you've highlighted a couple of examples
as well. It's a maester and a dwarf. Their kind of description. But
so we based on the history, that's what we know. But in reality, he actually snuck off with his boyfriend. Which I quite like that. It seems so much more in character for Rhaenyra and Daemon as well.
Yeah, they're not completely.
Just saw that Daemon didn't do what Viserys did and kill his wife.
Yeah,
and Rhaenyra does genuinely like Laenor.
I mean, he did do it for his wife.
No, he didn't give her the C-section.
No. But his previous wife, he just bludgeoned her to death.
But it's not.
But also, Rhaenyra clearly did like.
Laenor. They did
spend
10 years with each other. Yeah,
they just had different interests,
and it's not
or the same interests.
They had too much in common. That was the issue.
It's not that this is the first time in the series or in the world it's happened, kind of thing, because there's theories that kind of the spider Varys, thank you.
Right.
He shaved his head because he could have Valyrian descent.
Could be a Blackfire.
It could be a Blackfire, exactly. And then Aegon in Game of Thrones, kind of, that's not in the TV show, but is in the books. He dyes his hair.
I think I might have heard about this.
So that kind of removal of Valerian hair that's so identifiable, that's happened again. So I think it's quite a nice.
It's not like an unfounded thing.
It kind of gives almost a happy ending to quite a likable character.
Yeah. And someone that has already had enough tragedy, in the last 2-3 episodes. Yeah, I mean, he was a bit of a wet blanket,
and he's also kind of taken the easy way out, and basically
he ditched everybody,
ditched his parents, whose other child has just died.
It's a very selfish thing to do, so it's not like a pure
No.
act at all. But it's a happy ending in a way for him.
Definitely.
But also it fits with the tone of it because he's caused a lot of issues, and as we see from the next episode, his mum is in a pretty bad place in a lot of ways, and his dad then leaves for 6 years. Do they say? Like he'd been at war.
He's been gone for
something
6
like
years.
6 years. So the
Battling on
whole
the stepstones.
the whole time plus a little bit between episodes.
Yeah.
So it starts with her voiceover saying, "It's been 6 years since I saw my husband." So we know it's been at least 6 years. It wouldn't have been like amiss for him to be upset about both his children leaving and just going to war.
They say Corliss is like got an infection and he may die, which then springboards a lot of what happens in this episode.
And I think he'd also had his throat slit, but it was like healing, or there was some mention there, but we don't see any of that in this episode.
And you know, until you see someone die,
of course,
they're not dead.
But I found it funny. So his brother steps in, is almost the villain of the Vaymond, and he's like calls the kids bastards in court.
Calls her a whore.
It's great.
Calls her a whore. The princess is a whore.
I was thinking like this. He's Ned Stark from the other side of the perspective.
Right,
because
okay,
I was saying to Christine as watching it, all the stuff he's saying, he's not wrong.
No.
He's being a dick about it.
Yeah.
But he's right. And like,
he's going about it in the wrong way, I think.
You should have a Valerian on Driftmark as Master of Ties. They're clearly not Valerian. They're clearly not Targaryen. Like, he's just saying what everyone's thinking.
Viserys did conclude that previous episode by saying, if anyone questions it again, they're basically fucked. And him doing it, like, something was going to happen.
But he's not too different to Ned Stark.
I loved Daemon's like support of his brother now in this episode, and you
That's
see it
really
multiple
wonderful.
times. There's that instant there, but before that, we have the scene which. One of my favorite scenes so far when Viserys just turns up at the petition.
Really cool.
Absolutely brilliant.
And we're like, then that is his redeeming. Everything in this episode was like redeeming all is in action the whole. Not actually redeeming it, but in a character sense.
I think one thing that really starts me is that this guy's he's been drinking like the milk of the poppy. Yeah. He's clearly on his deathbed. Half his face is rotted off. And yet at that moment, he's the strongest he's ever been. When he comes in, tells them what.
And I really like even the symbolism of him stumbling and refusing the help of the guards. Daemon steps in. He helps his brother for the first time, however long.
It's been a running thing. Like, even the early episodes, they were like, "Oh, Daemon wants to steal his brother's crown," but Daemon has never shown anything but for support.
And we literally see the crown fall from his head, and Daemon gives it back to him.
Yeah.
Well, we had
what you spoke before.
It's that kind of when he had the crown of the stepstones. He put it on the floor for his brother and say,
So at heart, it's not different from what we've seen, but we've seen him do things which potentially suggest or have seen as him doing against the crown.
When he actually does stuff, he clearly does care for his brother. Like back in episode 3 or 4 when he's with Corliss Velaryon and he says some shit about Viserys. He's like, no,
hang on.
No, he's your fucking king. Like, I can say it's my brother. Don't you fucking say that. And it was so beautiful when he's like, I don't need help, and then realise it's Daemon. And Daemon putting the crown on.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
I think Viserys is like, obviously we've said how much Paddy's put into it, but also in kind of terms of the makeup and the art design of his character.
Oh yeah,
really. I
love that outfit with the gold mask.
Exactly.
The actual outfit itself as well was just like, it was fucking.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you remember Kingdom of Heaven, the film.
Oh where it had is that Orlando Bloom?
Yeah, where you had King Baldwin IV had leprosy and he had that golden mask.
Oh, okay, is it similar?
Very Phantom of the Opera.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And then the what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say one thing me and Christina spoke about after is that they followed Game of Thrones in having a really likable but stupid main character die right towards the end of season 1.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that it's hilarious hilarious in some ways that they go from that scene where it's it's all tension and was it Vaymond was the guy?
Yeah,
Vaymond is just like executed. and then it just goes to they're just gonna still have dinner afterwards.
family dinner.
Yeah.
I'll
Family
just
dinner,
carry on.
and
In
it's
the same
hilarious
room.
that they're all in the same room. It's first of all these two families that we've seen not agree the whole series basically so far, and the fact that the guy who was just murdered should have been there. The guy who murdered him is there.
Yeah.
And it's actually turns out to be the most they all get on
And they
for a
even-
time anyway.
They
for
even
about-
toast Bayman.
Yeah. It just goes to show
them rolling his eyes.
their like tolerance for like ultraviolence
Bullshit
is so
as
high.
well.
It's so high.
But that dinner was so good. And like,
Yeah.
it's almost like the calm before the storm type
It
thing.
really is.
Yeah.
And
I was
when
yeah,
Rhaenyra like toasted Alicent, and one thing like
yeah.
I've always felt with Alicent, particularly in this, is one thing that she wants more than anything else that nobody's ever given her is
Yeah.
credit for looking after this old guy who's dying with her,
But-
who she's been forced to marry and sleep with.
You say
and
that.
nobody ever given her credit for. And Rhaenyra, of all people, is like, you know what, Alicent?
Yeah.
Good fucking job looking after my dad.
You say
like-
that, but then we see her true colors in the final scene
Yeah.
to some degree, where as soon as she gets what she thinks she wants, she leaves him
purposely misunderstand it.
purposely, and that
Well, do you
I've
think
seen.
so? Do you think so?
I've seen people.
100%.
I've seen
Do you
people
not-
reacting to that and being quite pissed off at how
Yeah.
a misunderstanding. And I've got to say, Lewis, one of my very, very early predictions
It
was the deathbed Harold the Confessor. What's
Edward
he called?
the
Edward the Confessor style mix up there. I've got to say, I'm fucking taking that one. That was 100% what I
Christina was
suggested.
so pissed off when that episode ending. She was like, it was such a great episode. She was like, and that's
It's very
fucking
annoying.
bullshit.
But I don't agree that it was. I think the reason
It's
why
because they've all got the fucking same name. Every third
Well, yeah.
Targaryen is called Aegon. That's the
so
problem.
I don't think it was
Oh,
her.
the thing with that though, if you're constantly being told a prophecy that Aegon's going to come save the country,
Yeah.
you're going to
You're-
make sure you
Yeah.
can save
Yeah.
Aegon.
That is true. That is true.
But I don't think she purposely. I think she. The
And
only reason,
maybe subconsciously made the decision to interpret
Yeah.
it the way she wanted to.
and I think because we know the prophecy,
yeah.
we
and we know everything they're talking about turns out to be bullshit.
yeah, we know that he was meant to say something,
Yeah.
and that we know the words that were missing from his sentence.
Well, he thought
She
he was talking
doesn't.
to Rhaenyra, so
Well, exactly, as well.
Yeah.
and talking about her
Yeah,
son.
same.
So we know what he should have said,
Yeah.
and she doesn't. She's going for a point of no knowledge
That's the
whatsoever.
and because this is a closely guarded secret for the
Yeah.
heir only, Rhaenyra's got no leg to stand on in this sense
Exactly.
because
my dad told me something
potentially
honest.
Damon
Yeah.
may know, but Damon's obviously going to agree with her anyway. So
Yeah.
there's no foundation for this, and
Yeah.
Alicent has been, she is.
I think it's a
yeah.
reasonable translation of interpretation of what
Yeah.
he said. I
Whether-
have no
yes.
ill will towards her for
No.
that specific part.
But
But other things,
the
yes,
fact that
but-
she hears what she wanted to hear for
But
all
then
these
wouldn't you-
years. No,
if
but the
you're
fact
so-
that she then drops his hand practically
Yeah.
in his
and he
in his-
dies on his own.
yeah, that the
he was
whole
a shit king. Come on,
but
he
the
just had to
scene
die on his own.
just going back before then. First of all, I thought it was hilarious that because we saw Brown the Broken was the first person to have a wheelchair, that nobody ever thought to put wheels on a chair before, and they just carry him in.
Yeah.
It's quite funny. But that whole scene, as before we get to the part where Aemond, who now looks older than all the kids,
Yeah,
is
he does,
like-
doesn't
What a growth spurt.
and he looks more like David Tennant now than the actor who played his older brother, who was David Tennant's son in the. Anyway,
Yeah.
before we get to that, when we see his kind of decline across that meal, and he feels like Viserys almost feels like he's made this peace, and you can see him kind of letting go. And that
Yeah.
scene of just an old man slowly kind of dying at the dinner table,
Yeah.
that really got to me. And I was like, damn, there's
Yeah.
some. And you can see everyone kind of realizing, and they're kind of trying to just play it off because they're like, this might just be a normal thing.
I did notice there was certain shots where it had Viserys in the middle, Alicent
Yeah.
to his right, and then he had his good side of his face towards Rhaenyra and
Yeah.
his rotten
Yeah.
side of his face towards Alicent, and like,
Very purposeful.
is there?
Yeah.
And there's been lots of symbolism in this series so far. Probably stuff that won't be
Yeah.
revealed for another 2 or 3 seasons, where you're like,
Okay,
Definitely.
okay.
and I think like Damon and Aemond
yeah.
are more similar than.
I was going to say, I mean, they also look very similar.
Exactly.
So
it's just
I think at the end bit where it kind of boils up and Damon almost stands in front and stares down at Eamon, there's almost a
admiration,
sense of respect.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like,
they are
that's
very,
exactly
very
what
similar.
I would have said.
Yeah.
Eamon clearly looks up to Damon, but sees,
Yeah.
and Damon sees himself and Eamon, but they're on kind of opposing sides.
I did quite like Eamon looking like Bloodraven as well. That kind of, I quite enjoyed the one-eyedness of that, and kind of, he there was kind of go towards that. I quite enjoyed. Obviously, different time scales.
I don't know
completely
anything about that. I heard somewhere that is Eamon. It mentions that he wore like a sapphire in his eye. Is that something that you guys remember?
Yeah.
I guess that's something they're not going to do in this. It's like who's it who had the purple beard or something in Game of Thrones?
Dario Naharis.
Yeah, there's like things that are maybe slightly too eccentric
and
on the screen.
Purple eye color as well is a Valerian thing that they got rid of because
just stylistically it doesn't quite gel
the
with
superficial stuff. I don't really care. Like in this, I think the decision to make the Valerians black was smart because you can then see the difference between Valerians and Targaryens.
Yeah.
If it was just a big group of white people, you'd get them all mixed up a lot
white
more.
people, white hair.
And to be fair, I didn't really notice. Like,
no, I didn't notice because I didn't know any better.
It was kind of like that makes sense. Or there was it was a non-thing. It was like
totally agree.
Why would then not be people of different colour who come from the same place?
Totally.
And I didn't. I can't say I liked it because I didn't notice it happen. Like it was just.
I just like the fact that you could tell who was a Targaryen and who was a Valerian.
Yeah.
Just to flick back very quickly to the dinner. I know we're kind of there, but before I guess we move on to the last bit, but we one of the things that I was talking to Amy about while we were watching it, and the underlying tension there was, at least the way I saw it, was that if Viserys had died at the dinner table there, it was pretty much open season because whoever, if both families had fought each other literally at the dinner table, whoever wins, it doesn't matter, they've just murdered the rest of them because they're now the rulers of the Seven Kingdoms. And that underlying tension, despite them making friends, was really kind of palpable. And Aemon bringing it back with the like really in-your-face Saki toast.
Yeah.
I thought that kind of almost roller coaster of...
It almost wasn't Aemon that started it. It was the pig coming out and...
Well, yeah, but do you think
Jace laughing at the fact that there was a pig there? Because obviously we saw before... They were we thought you were a dragon and then brought a pig out.
I didn't make that connection.
Give it its true name. It's the Pink Dread. Come on, that was what it was called.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection. I thought he was just kind of laughing at him. I got that he was laughing at him, but
yeah. So I wanted to know who did that. What was it on purpose? Was it just?
I don't think it was on purpose, but he saw Jace laughing at it
because it's the kind of thing that Larys would do.
Yeah, but he wasn't
to try it. He wasn't there, obviously, but.
Who's
so Larys is the guy who helps Alicent.
Oh yeah, he hasn't made an appearance for a little while. I guess he
was in the 2 episodes, but he's kind of been a background character.
Yes, I mean, a little bit back. But, I guess because he effectively put I keep calling him Otis, Sneaky Otis, but he's called Otto.
Yeah.
The lizard himself from Amazing Spider-Man. Because he effectively orchestrated him getting back into power, didn't he? And I guess now he's taken a little step back.
Well, and also he's
just to let that kind of play out almost.
I think he's a Littlefinger character. I think that's who a lot of people
I think he blows Littlefinger out the water.
On the topic of Littlefinger characters, we get the return of Daemon's mistress, who is seemingly taking this spy master role in some way.
More Varys.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, kind of little.
I think, but with Larys and being Littlefinger, the pig move makes sense because he's trying to sow chaos.
And
obviously chaos is a ladder. So there we go. Let's ring the bell for that being said.
I think one
that's the bingo.
One final thought that I really enjoyed that.
I've got more thoughts. I don't want this to be the final thought.
You have to just come back next week. Hamish.
I don't think it's too spoilery, but in a really friendly way. In a really friendly way, the last thing Rhaenyra says to Alicent is, "Don't worry, I'll come back soon on a dragon."
So okay, so she's gonna come back on a dragon,
or is she?
I was of the opinion, like I was thinking, oh shit, what's gonna happen is because this is me thinking everything's about to kick off. I was thinking she's going to leave, drop the kids off at the pool, and then she's going to come back and she's going to get caught in the aftermath of Viserys' death. But obviously, the timeline that we saw, she's long gone by the time Viserys dies, so she probably won't come back.
We'll see.
And based on what you just said there, I think the next time she'll see her is atop a war dragon of sorts in a potentially fiery aftermath of some sort of battle.
But it's not kind of it doesn't have to be 100% true to the book.
No,
it's kind
so
of.
she might they might
might be two dragons.
They might Skype each other later and just
yeah,
they
exactly.
see each
and
other,
get on
but
after that. But yeah, and I quite like that kind of bit deviation.
And it's the fact that they seemingly do make up to some degree. And then personally, I mean, I really like Alicent as a character. I think the scene that we kind of skipped over at the start where she's both having to cover for her rapist son and also like try and wake him on, like for the second time in like 3 episodes, have to be like, this is fucking serious.
Yeah.
I know that I've been putting a lot of pressure on you, at least that's what he says, but it's like she is dead certain of what's going to happen, but he's just kind of he's very entitled.
Yeah.
Like both the performance from, I think she's Olivia Cook, and just the character itself, I think is fantastic. Despite that, I do still stand by the fact that she did kind of very self-interested at the end and dropping Viserys. I think she's a very complicated character, and I think she is potentially one of my favorite characters.
I think that the show has kind of skewed the Greens or like the Hightowers to be the bad guys, haven't they? Really?
In Fire and Blood, it's a lot more objective. This side did this, and the show very much favours Rhaenyra over Alicent.
And to be fair, the books might do that because they were written by a maester, partly written by a maester.
I mean,
that kind of Septon Hype or whatever.
When I read the book, I did side with the blacks over the Greens, but it was less clearly good and bad.
Whereas I think this is very clear.
Yeah, it's a bit clearer. But also, I think you say you like Alicent. I like Alicent. Yeah. And I think she's very like Cersei Lannister, who has got a lot of
protection of the children as well.
Protection of the children. Yeah. And she's been manipulated by her dad the whole time.
Yeah.
He made her seduce the king.
Manipulated by his brother as well, isn't he? That's the thing. It's like Otto is trying to follow the wishes of his older brother, who is Lord of High Town.
And the Hightowers have a bit too much power.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, exactly. Well, they are the Lannisters, aren't they? They are the Lannisters of the story.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to this next week.
Yeah, shall we move on to Cassian and or Clem?
Hey, there we go. That's it.
I need to think one just for Hamish.
Yeah, I hate these changes of names.
Or Clem. The first thing
I spent a while trying to remember what his fake name was.
The first thing that I've got is how hilarious it is that Stellan Skarsgård puts on the shittest wig in the world, and the next thing we see is perfectly done. I loved his little change into character.
I loved his
He's doing the little he's acting to himself. I loved it, but that hair change really made me laugh.
I think on that, I think seeing him in the real world and dealing with a senator in the professional stuff is really fun, and seeing that sort of character, and then the way you go back behind and they're like, so rebellion stuff. I think it's really interesting. And Stellan Skarsgård's fucking
there's
great.
You probably noticed, Hamish, there's a couple of Easter eggs there. Did you notice the Starkiller armor? Yeah.
Cool.
So did you ever play the Force Unleashed games?
No, I got it on PS2, but I got it after my PS2 broke 3 years ago.
I mean, even if your laptop's not in great shape, I'm sure it could run the first Force Unleashed.
But I think it is more Sith Assassin outfit rather than Starkiller. It's not necessarily making that canon. And I think there was also good shouts to Rebels as well. So Hera in Rebels, Thrawn captures...
I think you want to look at Lewis for these ones.
Thrawn captures Hera's family, I don't know what they're called.
The stone,
tabernacle
thing.
or whatever.
I saw some stone
and
stuff. Yeah,
so that was in his shop. There was a version of that in the shop.
Okay.
So a different Twi'lek family potentially.
Oh, Twi'leks, I know them. Yeah,
so
the sexy ones with the
the
snakes on their
sexy
heads.
ones. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
So that kind of cool thing, and I think obviously even in the most recent episode in his shop is quite cool as well. Again, going on what you're saying about seeing him talk about Rebel stuff, and then actually just be a normal sales kind of run. He does that as well.
And the fact that the one who appears to be kind of his assistant is kind of bossing him around as well.
Well, I
don't know if
his wife.
Yeah, I think that's what Amy said. But I
think,
thought age-wise, it looked more like his daughter. But no judgment.
I took her as his assistant, but I think it's fun that she's clearly also a rebel and is part of this room.
So that's why I think,
but kind of grounding him no matter what their relationship
is. And it's
is,
kind of her job to distract the driver so he can talk to Mon Mothma.
And speaking of the driver, we get some very sad developments in Mon Mothma's life where she's just in this awful marriage. Her daughter hates her, and her husband is constantly undermining her. And
he's obviously a high level Imperial.
Yeah, I don't really understand
I can't remember exactly. It was Sly Moore, I think, was one of the characters.
That's right. Yeah,
and
she
was potentially.
They talk about shipping routes are being closed off, and she was opposed to that.
Well, yeah, and Sly Moore is potentially a lover of Palpatine.
God, we got the right person on for this.
We're
definitely going to put this in the episode description. Star Wars aficionado. Is that? That's not quite.
Don't we always have a Star Wars aficionado on the show?
Yes, but you're looking at me. Why are you talking about Sly Moore? And you're looking at me like, what?
It's just nice to have somebody else here that knows about Star Wars.
Oh, that's what that look is. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So obviously he's in the inner circle if he's because she also was a high level Imperial politician. And I don't know whether they mentioned Saint Passage or not, or that might be my imagination. But so it must be quite difficult for, like you're saying, a family hating her, not liking her anyway, and then also having to spend all of her personal life with potentially like
someone who's like you say in the inner circle.
It kind of adds a real tragic level of like we know even from the original trilogy that like she's fully committed to the cause.
Well, what's going to happen between here and there?
And now we see because in A New Hope she's still a senator.
Yeah.
So nothing's going to get revealed, but we see here that actually,
I don't think she is actually.
No, I think she's
because
I think by the time of Rogue,
sure,
because I think in Rogue One she's in the base, which means she's had to give it up.
So in Rebels, when she does a declaration to the whole of the galaxy. So it may be the case that in the film she was originally a senator, but I
might have called her senator.
They called her senator, but she wasn't
actually an active senator.
I think the Imperial Senate got dissolved.
It gets dissolved in A New Hope.
Is it in
that first
and
meeting
that's where they
with Tarkin and Vader and the other?
So,
when he strangles.
All right, Lewis, you can get your Star Wars aficionado badge back.
But what I was going to say is that it's really interesting to see how like being like so in bed with this cause not only ruined her political career but ruined her like home life as well.
Yeah. I mean, it also seems like they didn't really get on anyway.
It may have been a political marriage.
But
also still her daughter. And we didn't know she had a daughter.
No, this a husband.
This is what I'm saying. I based on the fact that these last two episodes we saw a hell of a lot of those three characters. I wouldn't be surprised if she either has to make a hard decision or if them being killed off, maybe by the Empire, which might drive her further into it, or even in some unrelated thing, gives her that
she gets killed by rebels would be interesting.
Whatever it is, that something will probably give her that push to take it to the next level kind of thing.
And we've got this far without actually talking about Andor.
Because all this other stuff is slightly more interesting.
One more thing. I'm really enjoying the look of the ISB, the Security Bureau.
Oh yeah,
really
when he's done the extra piping on his uniform,
exactly,
all that stuff. Yeah. What's he called? Like Walter? What's he called? He's got a bit of a like a weedy boy name.
Yeah,
like a
it's
little
something-
nerd boy name.
He goes back to live with his mother, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
and his mum's
she's
just
slapped.
she's such a
Yeah. But
she's such a horrible mum.
But as in the actual look at the ISB, so the kind
Yeah.
of guys in white.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, like
Yeah.
the
that looked very New Hope.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It was really,
yeah.
and all the inside of a lot of the Imperial buildings, a lot of
Yeah.
inside the Imperial ships as well. They're all very kind of that original
Yeah.
Star
Yeah.
Wars kind of motif. and
visually,
really
I
like
think
that.
from that very first scene, and me and Lewis talked about this when the first episode dropped. The first scene with the it's almost like a Blade Runner neon rain planet. From that moment going through, I think it is potentially the best looking Star Wars TV show.
Yeah.
I think some of Mandalorians look good, some of Boba Fett and other ones have looked
Yeah,
good.
I think Mandalorian looks good, but
But I think it's got a very kind of grounded in a Star Wars world
I think
style.
very little of the Mandalorian is set in cities.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a lot of in the country,
Yeah.
traveling in space. Whereas this is very much city based. So we're seeing
Yeah.
that side of the Star Wars.
I think it feels very
universe.
purposeful as well. It feels like slightly more like it has an artistic vision.
Yeah.
Not all of it necessarily, but there are some good kind of shots and scenes that feel like they should be in a film, is what I'm kind of.
Yeah.
And the guy who's the showrunner for this did a lot of the reshoots for Andor, so has
For
for,
Andor.
yeah, he finished it already. For Rogue One, so very hands-on with this
Makes
character.
sense.
Or you could say hands-on with this guy.
Get out. Come on.
So I really enjoying Andor's new like little crew.
Yeah, the
There's a mix of
mistrust and
personality.
everything.
There's the loyal rebel who's suspicious of him.
Yes.
Fair enough. You've got the smart kid.
Yeah.
You've got the leader woman.
Yeah.
Who did you guys recognize?
Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Game
the
of
the
Thrones.
waif.
The waif.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I looked at her. I was like,
It
where
was-
do I know her
The
from?
thing was, the waif looked so young, and now she looks so much older.
I think
it
she
It's
was-
almost as if it's been years since Game of Thrones
It
was on.
can't have been. It can't have been. It was only yesterday I was watching Game of Thrones.
That was literally like 8 years
It's
ago that
madness, isn't it?
season.
Madness.
But
Sorry, I
yeah,
unplugged my headphones while we were talking.
I enjoyed that crew, and
I think it's funny that she is not funny, but it's good that she wants to be the good leader, but she's not really got the full
Yeah.
like control over it.
So what episode have we got to?
So,
so we've watched the one where
they're
like,
just going to do
on
the
their
high.
way
There's
to the
two, there's two
heist.
episodes in the kind of Highlands kind of area where
Yeah.
is there another episode out there?
Yeah, so there is currently
Oh,
the
no.
next episode that I may have watched this morning.
well, don't tell us anything.
I don't know what days the episodes come out.
I
watched
think
the
they
last two
must.
back to
Well,
back.
we're recording on Wednesday. I had to check that. So yeah, I guess they come out on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
then.
Okay,
So you've got
so
that. It's very good episode.
we won't talk
But I
about
won't,
that.
I won't
Oh,
mention
yeah,
anything
okay.
more.
They mentioned the light show, the eye of the universe,
The Eye of Sauron.
Yeah.
Oh wait, sorry,
it's a
I'm getting
great.
mixed
It's a
up.
great crossover.
the eye of
Um,
the universe. Yeah.
What? Yeah, no. One thing I was going to say, just
Well,
keep
actually,
us
on the Eye of
within-
Sauron thing, those weird monk people that turn up have an Eye of Sauron thing on
Yeah,
their
it's a
staff,
good
don't
show,
they?
yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
connected. Maybe that bald woman is Sauron.
But yeah, one thing I was going to say that I really enjoyed about Andor and this crew is that we get introduced to Andor in Rogue One, where he kills that guy in the street and runs up, and
Yeah.
he's clearly so dedicated to the cause.
Hmm.
He's done bad stuff for the cause. He'll do anything for the cause. And in this, with this crew, he's the one guy that's not interested in the cause.
Yeah.
Like all the rest of them are dedicated. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm just here for the money.
It's going to be good to see the development of his character
Yeah,
from
because-
mercenary to fanatic.
Fanatic,
yeah.
and it's interesting seeing him on the. He's basically, and it's funny because he looks at Felicity Jones's character in Rogue One so suspiciously,
Yeah.
because she's the one that's not involved in the
Yeah.
cause,
Yeah.
and he's that character in this.
And this
Yeah.
is like
It's a
5
really
years out from
interesting-
that. Yeah.
It's a really interesting parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he was essentially the guy who has his big falling out with in this.
yeah.
He's that version
Roles
of Rogue One.
reversed by the
I'm
time.
looking
yeah.
forward to watching in a year's time Andor and then Rogue One straight after it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's going to be
Yeah, I
quite.
think they said
insane.
it's
Well,
gonna
there's
be
there's a
three
there's a
seasons.
second season, yeah, too. So what was announced a while back was this season was set 5 years before, which seems to still be the case at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it said 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, didn't it, at the
Yeah.
start? and then I think the second season, as was planned, was going to skip slightly through those 5 years. So see his progression. So probably by the end of this season, he'll be beginning his path onto becoming part of the rebellion, and then it will show his progression more up to it. But that plan may change, or that may have been an unfounded rumor. I don't know. But
no, hopefully not. Fingers
either
crossed
way,
it is,
yeah. New, hopefully not.
Oh. Is it over yet?
Almost there. This is now turning out to be the very longest episode we've ever done. But
we had a lot of personal projects to talk about.
We had a lot, and I am not complaining in one bit at all. But I think that does kind of move us to the end there, unless anyone has anything else to say about anything else.
I think that's just about it for me.
Yep, nothing from me.
And nothing from me.
Excellent. So if you enjoyed this as much as we did, I very much enjoyed this.
I hated it. Don't know what you're talking about.
Hopefully you're more like me and not Hamish, but I mean that in many ways.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But yeah, if you did enjoy it, please do go onto your podcast listening app or device, whatever you use to listen to this, and give us 5 stars. You may not think it's much, but it does mean quite a lot. So please do it. You can also get in contact with us more directly, can't you, Sam?
You can. If you do want to reply to any of the questions that we've asked today, first of all, you can go into the YouTube comments if you're on YouTube, as Hamish mentioned earlier. But if you are not on YouTube, you can send us an email at theprojectpod@gmail.com, or you can find any of our social medias, including YouTube, in the link tree in the episode description. So if you want to suggest a future topic for us, if you've got something spooky that you want to suggest for next Projoctober, you can.
Sean Connery's going to be our new host.
that is one of the signs that we are getting to the end of the episode. There, start slurring my speech. If you want to recommend the show, that would be fantastic. Just send it through to anyone else. That wasn't even one there. Stop laughing at me.
It was close.
But I think that pretty much draws it to close. So I want to say thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Hamish, for joining us again.
Yes.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always enjoyable.
I think we'll probably have to have you back again soon. Maybe I'd say maybe towards the end of Andor, but I don't know if we will have it in the budget. You know, we can't really afford to have you back so soon.
My travel expenses are quite high.
You might have to come for free next time.
Yeah. You have to pay us this time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not like you didn't bring
Imperial credits.
Yeah,
is that right?
Or is that what are the armor, Beskar armor things?
Yeah,
Beskar things.
I'd like 12 gold dragons, please.
No chance.
Okay, we're moving those around then. Are we? I'll have a ring of power then.
Oh fucking hell, that's expensive. I'll
have some gamma blood. There we go.
Goodbye, everybody. I'll hear you next week.
See you for the next Projoctober episode. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Oh, I haven't paused it yet. Bye.